Touchdown, Baylor Bears.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Johnson gonna go to the end zone, and Boutte! How about that? Solves all problems, doesn't he? Keyshawn Boutte, 31-yard touchdown catch.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
Play fake, Paul with time again, floats it into the end zone, and oh, what a catch for a touchdown by Samson Nakoa. My goodness, just ripped it away from the defender.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here's a pick. There's 6 for Anthony Brown. Pick 6.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
4th down. Young's going to have to hurry to get it underway. He does. Back to throw. Looking, throwing for the end zone, and it is. Was it incomplete in the end zone, but it doesn't matter. The game is over. The ball is down in the end zone, and Baylor has defeated Brigham Young University by a score of 40-36 in a thrilling and exciting football game.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. What a gorgeous day it is in Central Texas. Not sure about where you are as we go coast to coast, border to border, throughout the United States and even some other countries. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Paul to my left, Craig to my right. First of all, let's start with this. Although all the youngins are in the studio today, Armstrong Sims, Hayden Bumpus, and also Jack McKenzie. Full throttle today on this Friday. We're going to be at Waco ISD Stadium a little bit later this evening for Midway and Waco High, two teams who are trying to pick up their first win of the year. Two proud histories. But boy, they have struggled this year. But here's how we start today with congratulations. He was supposed to be a part of our segment every Friday at 5:30. Sam Bradshaw. There is Sam C. Bradshaw Jr. That's the older guy. The younger one is Sam C. Bradshaw III. Sam is resting comfortably.
I'm glad he is. I'm sure it was a rough day for him.
And he said he's exhausted. And I guess Nancy's okay too, his wife. But congratulations to Sam Bradshaw. And there is a new member of the Baylor commitment list of the future, Sam C. Bradshaw, III. So congratulations to Sam. He will not be a part of the show today, and now we understand why. All right, so, yesterday we had some discussion about Memphis, and I want to get back into that as well, plus some great games this weekend. Plus, we're going to hear from a Brigham Young grad who is in town to help run the tailgate that they're going to have on the Brazos River in one of the tailgating spots. We'll have him on the show, and how pumped up they are to be in town. I saw a Brigham Young broadcaster throw up a picture. I think it's Coach's Smoke Barbecue, and there was this banner in their window that was like welcoming Brigham Young to Waco, Texas, and it's been the Big 12 thing. We know what that's like and how important that has been. But Memphis, a couple people wanted to follow up on Memphis.
Yeah, but first, did you not see BYU's little rivalry they've started now with Baylor for this game?
No, I guess I didn't.
Okay, well, Baylor's brought out the Sailor Bear helmets, and last night BYU added a Sailor Cougar to the back of their helmets, their version. The Sailor Bear is not unique to Baylor. Fans act like it is. They act like it was like the greatest logo of all time. It was something that lots of schools used back in the day, especially during wartime. And, there was I saw like a collage put together, and there was like 20 different Sailor whatevers from across the country. And I think fans from all those schools like those logos. It may not be their primary favorite, but Baylor fans have certainly always had just this obsession with Sailor Bear. And so, last night BYU equipment put out a picture of their helmets, and there's a Sailor Cougar sticker on the back of it. It's not the full-blown logo like Baylor's will be tomorrow, but I thought that was a unique touch and a creative idea on their part to kind of counteract and almost kind of start a new little Sailor rivalry between Baylor and BYU as they become Big 12 mates.
There we go.
There it is. It's pretty good looking.
Yeah, and clearly this is one of those things that somebody...
See, there you go. That's what BYU put out last night, the Sailor game.
Yeah.
So they've already coined the new little rivalry we'll have in the Big 12.
Somebody back when these logos came out said, look, I'm just going to sell them to every school and see how many I can do, which is what they did. It's kind of like the Houston Oilers and Miami Dolphins song, which is one of my favorite stories in sports. The guy wrote the song for the Dolphins. The Dolphins didn't pay him, so he called the Oilers and said, "Would you want to buy this song?" And they said, "Yeah, sure. How much you want for it?" But if you're an Oilers fan, you grew up singing Houston Oilers, Houston Oilers, Houston Oilers #1. And then if you found yourself at a Dolphins game, you would hear Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Well, the Dolphins didn't pay for that song. They just took it.
They just took it. It was available, and it's good entrepreneurship by the person who had it in the first place. So I received, and this is in the post of the show. There's the chat room that goes on during the show that's going on, in fact, right now on 365 Sports. Plus, there's Twitter, and there's the text room, 254-339-1122 text line, and also the phone calls as well. And then on top of that, after the show is over, there is yet another group of text or comments that come down from a previous show or a segment, perhaps like what Paul does with his top fives or any of the interviews. Ty Detmer, there's a lot of talk and discussion there. So here's one thing that Chris Foster said. This is not really about Memphis, but he's saying about Chapter 2, about whatever happens with the Big 12 in Chapter 2. He said everyone seems to be obsessing over where, again, the Big 12 will expand again. But the ink isn't even wet on the deal with the 4 new teams. I was under the impression the Big 12 wouldn't expand again until exact dates for departure are eventually announced by Texas and Oklahoma. His whole point of this, and I asked him about this, was, man, it's almost like we haven't even been able to, we haven't been able to, or the Big 12 has not been able to even enjoy the fact that Brigham Young, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF are joining the conference at some point, perhaps the summer of 2023. And that this Chapter 2 shows that the Big 12 is trying to be proactive for a change after what happened being blindsided. I think I feel this way, the way we cover now this conference, is I think we cover Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and Brigham Young as well. That's what makes this weekend so special. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Haven't we almost like adopted them as a part of the Big 12?
Who is this that you're talking about?
A listener.
Okay. I don't think we've just, I don't know. We spent hours talking about the new additions to the Big 12. I don't know if we need to throw like a parade or something, but we're talking about them more than we ever have before, and constantly bring up like, go Big 12 when a Cincinnati score is read. And I don't know what else to say about him, really.
I think he was just like, can we enjoy it a little bit more? I think everybody did. I think everyone's thrilled about the immediate, or at least it seems like, reaction to Big 12 to what might have been walking dead in the water.
I mean, I get that, but it's like the season also started. Yeah. So we had games to talk about, and we have these actual matchups to talk about. So, yeah, I mean, there's 3 years to talk about the new teams coming in. So, I mean, we're going to be doing that for a while, and I think just the speculation is natural. I mean, you look at anything in any form of entertainment, and as soon as you get one thing, it's what's the next? For example, that we have not gotten a Batman trailer for this new movie that's coming out in like well over a year. It's been well over a year since we've seen a single thing from this movie. And that's built up the anticipation. Now they had this DC Fandom event this weekend, and we're going to finally see some new footage from this Batman movie. And the director puts out the very first still with all this buildup of Catwoman, right? And what Catwoman with Sans mask is going to look like. And what is the immediate reaction to that? It's not, man, Catwoman looks awesome, I can't wait. It's, where's the Riddler? Like, that's what our society does. We go to, like, you know, and so, yeah, that's kind of how it is. So, yeah, it's like the realignment and BYU and Cincinnati and all that. It's great, and we're still talking about it, but it also is like, okay, what's that next thing now as well? And, you know, for Boise State or for some of these other schools that might be on the outside looking in, look, it's not like nothing's happened. They've turned down offers to go join other conferences. Like, that's notable because that means something to what's going to happen maybe potentially, and it's also maybe a sign of what to look at. So I understand that. I mean, that point of view, but I mean, the train keeps rolling, you know, like everything keeps going forward. And for the Big 12, they're not just sitting on their hands, they're continuing to look as well. So that's kind of how I view it.
From the chat room, I'm going to get back into that in a minute. From the chat room, Alan Bishop, you said leadoff hitters get money. Where's my money for being the leadoff hitter last week or yesterday and today? And yes, laugh out loud. Top of the morning, Captain Blackbeard. Is that a new? It's been a while. Jared, let's do it. Keith, rolling into the weekend. Captain Blackbeard also said hook 'em. And so, of course, that's a game of interest between Oklahoma State and Texas tomorrow. Let's see here from a couple of others. Let's see here from Captain Blackbeard. Absolutely will show that they're a legit contender for the Big 12 Conference Championship game. Talking about Texas, he's excited. And Jared and Keith both said, yes, Sailor Cougar. Sailor Coug, and Baylor's got their Sailor Bear on the helmets for tomorrow as well.
Do you think that Baylor fans are obsessed with Sailor Bear because it rhymes with Baylor Bear?
I don't know. I don't think that's it.
You know, I'm not a Baylor alum. I just think there seems to be kind of some affection towards that particular logo, and that's fine.
They're all cool-looking logos.
Yeah. Keith posed a fun little rivalry. Didn't make it full logo to overshadow, but gave it a nod. Really cool. Also from Jared, I like that they're coming. The game's coming means they're excited to play us. Rivalry in the making. And Scott of Casterly Rock, I waited on a giant party of BU fans at a sports bar, and they were the nicest people I've ever waited on. They tipped huge as well. And so that's going on with that.
Go ahead, Paul.
I think that the loser of this game should have to listen to the other. This is both religious schools. Should have to listen to the other spiel. That should be it.
They'll never play each other again.
Loser. Well, I mean, they have to. They're in the conference now.
No.
So instead of a trophy like the old Oaken Bucket or something like that, you just make them sit and listen to the spiel. You got an hour. You have to sit there and listen to it.
Keith,
I'm fired up now for the game.
Yes, yeah. From Keith, really cool to welcome Brigham Young to the conference unofficially as part of our homecoming. Their fans will get an advantage of a unique atmosphere. By the way, speaking of that, as I mentioned, we're going to have one of their fans on the show. Taggart Barron is going to be here. He's going to be one of the guys that's putting together a Brigham Young tailgate party for tomorrow morning into the afternoon for the game that kicks off at 2:30. Let's see. Jared, I am obsessed with Sailor Bear because it's an awesome, nostalgic logo. And from Bob, I hope Baylor whips some blank butt. Tom King, W.S. Coug, I guess it's West Washington State, Baylor alumnus here, eager to see the Bears smash the Blue Cougs from Brigham Young. So there's a lot of that going on as well. Now let's get back to Memphis for 1 second. Here's the thing with Memphis. We have reported a lot, and I think it was Scott Easterly along with a few others that asked me, wait a minute, what did you say yesterday that you had not said before? I am saying this. I'm telling you this. We know about the money of what they want to try to do, either to renovate the Liberty Bowl, the bank this name was going to be on it, and also the other funding that we've brought up from either FedEx and DHL, which I said yesterday. We have reported from the beginning that Memphis has an outgoing president who may not want to muck up the waters for the incoming president and or put something in his lap that he himself may not want. We have reported all of that. We already know that they're close to an R1 status. We have reported that. What we are saying is, what we reported yesterday, and I mentioned this, is that when Brigham Young's name came up, when Cincinnati's name came up, when UCF's name came up, and when Houston's name came up about the Big 12 and expansion, every single one of those schools went nuts. It seems as if Memphis is trying to be quiet, maybe because they don't want to get over their skis because they've been burned before. That makes legitimate sense. But no one's talking. I think what the Big 12 would love to hear from Memphis, that they want to be a part of the Big 12, that they want to hear what the president has to say or what others have to say. That is where I think right now there's a little bit of concern. Hey, do you want to be a part of this or not? Because there's been a couple of schools that were at least on the peripheral radar that have kind of given them I don't know, we're okay. Schools that would love to be a part of a Power 5, but they don't have to be just because of where they stand in academics or just kind of their philosophy on universities. I think there's a large part of that with the Big 12 and Memphis, and no one's talking. When you try to get it, I talked to a couple of guys in the media yesterday. Hey, have you had the president on? Have you talked to this or that or then? And they're like, no one's talking. And so I think if Memphis is going to get it all ironed out, the financials, the stadium, whatever they're going to do, there is still a push and pull, a little tug of war about the money, whether it's the Liberty Bowl and or on campus. And one of the pushes and pulls politically is the fact that Memphis wants control of the stadium. The city goes, wait a minute, this is our stadium. Memphis wants to be able to have more control of the Liberty Bowl and or build their own stadium on campus if they can. So that's kind of the back scene or back page or kind of a little bit of the hidden part of yesterday with Memphis. And we'll see what happens. It's not going to happen. They're not going to be invited tomorrow. The Pac-12 is not going to announce their TV deal in the next couple of days, but it's going to happen. And then Texas and Oklahoma start the clock on the exit. And if you are not ready, if you're invited to say yes immediately or even call and say, hey, we're ready, then you're going to be left out, period. And there's other options, although Big 12 wants Memphis to be an option. Okay?
Yeah, you got to be. You got to be ready to go. And there are schools that have been preparing for this. Boise State's one of them that has been preparing for this for a while. Houston has been preparing for this for a while. And since the last time, UCF set a goal a decade ago to get to this spot. Now they are. Circumstances just had to fall their way. So when circumstances fall your way, you got to be ready. And I imagine that the city of Memphis and the university will get that ironed out. And the university might have a legit complaint saying that, what has the city done to help the Liberty Bowl be a better, more attractive stadium? And I can tell you, if you've ever been to Memphis, the minor league ballpark, which is right downtown there, it's beautiful. It's fantastic. So if they can do what they did with that ballpark to the Liberty Bowl, go for it. Get it done.
And again, we have I think all of us have, from the beginning, even maybe as a part of the original four, Memphis, not everybody that listens or watches this show, or not everybody that has either sent comments to us in various ways when we started discussing realignment or expansion, not everybody was not everybody was excited about any, whether it was Brigham Young, Cincinnati, Memphis, Houston, UCF, or anybody, or even Memphis. George Byrne asking this on the text line, and it's a good point. George, he said, we said in capital letters, we want to be a part of the Big 12 back in 2016. What do you want from us? That's 5 years ago. And I understand if you're a little bit timid because you got burned. It's like you put your hand and you got burned by the flame. But that's 5 years ago. A lot of things can change in 5 years. Are you still interested? I think so. But not enough is being, I think, said from within Memphis about the Big 12. And I'm just telling you, I just think that's what the Big 12 would like to. They don't want you to openly just all over them. They don't want that. I'm just telling you, reporting, doing my due diligence about the back part of this story with Memphis and the Big 12. I hope it happens. I think it happens. I know the Big 12 wants Memphis too. So why not, if you're the president, say something? Why not, if you are the president of Memphis, outgoing or what, say something that you say, hey, yeah, we're ready to do this. What else do you need? Why not? What does it hurt? If you feel like you're going to get burned again, okay, that's a pretty good reason because of what happened, although that, again, was 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago. From JW, Memphis is a better fit, guys, than Boise State. Boise State might think they're a better fit than Memphis, and there's others that might think they're better fits than Memphis and Boise State. All right, let's discuss Brigham Young and Baylor and the ramifications of this game, obviously because of the new addition, the conference and all that. That's one thing. Now you got the logo battle as well. What would this win mean to Baylor? Just another win? Or is this a win that puts them back inside the top 25? Does this then pop them ready for an off week and then Texas in 2 weeks after that?
I think that this is a huge win for Baylor because this would potentially be the best team that they've beaten this year. No offense to Iowa State, but BYU's pretty darn good. So this is one of the better teams they've beaten all year, maybe one of the better teams that they would beat all year. This would be a quality win. I mean, yes, it gets them bowl eligible, but that should be the baseline goal for Baylor every year. And so once that little thing is checked off the bottom of the list, they can move on. And going into the bye week in a win is a whole lot better than going to the bye week off of a loss. And you've got Texas coming up. So, yeah, I think it's a huge win for Baylor should they get it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a nice win. I don't think it'd be a huge win for Baylor. I think, if I had to pick Iowa State and BYU, I don't know who I'd take. I'd probably take Iowa State in that game just off the top of my head, but I think it'd be a damn good game. I think Iowa State has an opportunity starting this weekend to really look like a much better team than they look like in the first half. Not that they were horrific or anything, but they just obviously were a little bit of a disappointment given the expectations rolling in. But no, BYU's a very good team. You haven't played them a whole ton, so with the whole Big 12 rivalry, looming in the future and the Sailor Bear aspect of this or Sailor Cougar, whatever, I think that's a cool little unique part of this game as well. But yeah, I mean, for Baylor, it just mean a top 25 win. It would mean 6-1. It would mean you're bowl eligible, and it means you're going to the bye week. That's what it means. I mean, I don't think it means anything more than that, really. And I don't think it means more than just, hey, a nice win for BYU if they win. It means they stay on track and they don't drop a second straight game, which would, as we know, just completely explode their chances of what they would like to have at the end of the year. 2 losses would be a killer for them. So it's an important win, I think, for both teams. But for BYU, yeah, it's just staying the course and it's getting a nice win. And it's getting a win over a team that's borderline top 25 and one that you are going to be playing in the Big 12 in the future. So, that's all good. And like I said, for Baylor, it's all those things as well, and also a top 25 win if they do win it. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity for both teams. And, especially from Baylor's point of view, I think with the way the Big 12 is right now, there's going to be some teams that take up their second losses potentially this weekend in conference play. You've got the one right now. But, if you only have the one after this weekend, I think you're going to be sitting pretty. And you're going to be sitting right there in that Tier 1B behind the Tier 1A of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State potentially. So, yeah, it means a lot for both teams, but it doesn't mean everything.
Here's from TJ on what, Craig, you mentioned, Paul, and what the question was. Baylor should already be in the top 25. TJ's a big Texas fan, by the way, but this win would get them there. To Paul's point, I don't think it would be bigger than Iowa State win, but big nonetheless. And it also might send a signal, although I don't think that Brigham Young needs to send a signal about them being competitive in the Big 12. Sometimes it's an up year, off year. I think everyone knows that Brigham Young's going to be a part of that conversation.
No, to correct TJ, who always misinterprets what I say, but I didn't say it would be bigger than Iowa State. I thought BYU might be better than Iowa State. They might be a better team than Iowa State. I don't know that for a fact right now, but from what we've seen so far, BYU's been pretty darn good, and Iowa State's been a little up and down. Like until last week, BYU, hadn't lost a game yet. They didn't play well against Boise State. Boise State really popped them in the mouth. So that was very telling about maybe some of the stuff BYU's got going on. But BYU might be the best team that they've beaten to this point should they win.
Now, that's a pretty good point. I don't know what TJ. I don't know if TJ was misrepresenting. I think what he was saying is how big a win it was. I love it. It's great. We're getting feedback on this as well from George. By the way, Smokey, I'm not saying that it sounds like you know. It sounds like you know something deeper, more specific than just dragging their feet. And we, as a fan base, would like to know what that is. We want to put some pressure on them. All right, right. make your calls, talk to your people. I'm just telling you, Memphis is who the Big 12 wants to be a part of when and if there's a Chapter 2. Memphis is disappointed because they weren't a part of Chapter 1. Memphis is disappointed because they weren't a part of 2016, and maybe right now they're a little gun shy. But I do think that they just need to be ready. No delays. When that time comes for Chapter 2, and it will come, that Memphis is not going to say, hey, we need about another 2 or 3 months to think about it. That's kind of what I'm discussing there.
So I guess to answer your question would be to, I guess, just follow up and make sure that you feel like the school's checking the boxes that it needs to be checking in terms of stadium stuff and whatever else, that may be coming down the tracks that is of necessity for what, Big 12 membership would entail. So, I guess that's all you can do as a fan, really. I don't know the specifics like he does either, but it sounds to me of just, get your ducks in a row and get ready and, show that you want to be in the mix. And I don't know how fans relay that message to administrators and whatnot, other than just saying, hey, I hope we, are looking at this and doing everything that we can. I don't know. I don't know what the best route would be there.
I have a letter that was sent to me, and by the way, area code 804 sent me something about Iowa Penn State. Their little cat fight going on since the game was over.
Injuries.
Yeah. That's kind of fun. It's interesting. Iowa was saying something about Penn State, and I'm just paraphrasing that they wouldn't let us speed up or get up tempo. I didn't know Iowa did that. I thought Iowa, but that was interesting. All right. Saw your segment yesterday on Memphis and the stadium delays. I have friends on the inside of the city and university. Something is coming soon. The university is definitely not dragging their feet. I hope George and all of you are listening, and this is some clarification. More waiting game and standoff against the city. The city is proposing massive renovations to the Liberty Bowl, and we have discussed that. University also is considering an on-campus stadium. The university is waiting to see what city comes back with. The city drastically wants to keep the university playing in the Liberty Bowl. The university wants complete control of the Liberty Bowl or on-campus stadium. This point is non-negotiable. Politics that will get worked out, university staying quiet until they know a certain path, but either massive Liberty Bowl renovation, makeover coming, or new stadium. Memphis desperately wants to be a part of the Big 12. The city does too. They belong in the Big 12. We should know the Liberty Bowl renovation versus the on-campus decision soon. Thanks for the coverage of Memphis. You guys will love them in the Big 12. Passionate city loves and breathes Memphis Tigers sports. Please, thanks for your time, and know that we want the Big 12 too. That's pretty cool. That's a good thanks for the email on the insides of that. All right, when we come back, Brigham Young and Baylor, Oklahoma State and Texas. Kentucky. Think about this. Kentucky's involved in, perhaps if you take the numbers to the left of the rankings, right, is involved in what is the most elite game in college football based on that. 1 against 11, right, or whatever it is. That's interesting. We've heard from Kentucky. We've also heard from Georgia before as well. When we come back, we're going to hear from a Brigham Young fan who's in town, as are thousands of Cougars fans for the game with Baylor, and what they're doing tomorrow. Next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com. Remember these promo codes, Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. It's a 125% bonus when you sign up with cash, or 200% bonus when you sign up with crypto. Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. BetUS has been serving clients for 25 plus years and prides itself on being known as America's favorite sports book. And they've got action on every sport across the world, so they can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game. And they offer the industry's bigger retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer, like Sikkim125 and Sikkim200. So use those promo codes. Go to BetUS.com, Sikkim125 and Sikkim200.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Allen Samuels, we're proud to announce that Dodge is the #2 brand overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. We've got amazing offers this month, so let our team help find the new 2021 Dodge vehicle that's right for you.
Come by. Let's be friends.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizzas since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, tomorrow 2:30. Baylor and Brigham Young in a game between what will be eventually Big 12 members. And I think everyone's thrilled with Brigham Young being a part of the conference. And Taggart Barron, Brigham Young grad, class of 1997, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Has the invasion of BYU into Waco, has that already started, Taggart?
You bet, Smokey. We're coming in. But you know what's interesting? A lot of people think that the BYU fans travel far and wide, and we do. But what they don't realize is the number of BYU fans that are just all around, and we've got over 17,000 alumni, plus all their families and friends in Texas alone, not counting Oklahoma and Arkansas. So we're coming to Waco, and we're going to enjoy the game.
So I'm just assuming you've bought up the allotment.
Yeah, I think Baylor only allotted a 2,000 or 3,000 tickets to BYU, so we bought those up in a snap, and everyone's been turning to StubHub and Ticketmaster and the Baylor ticket office. Mark my words, on Monday, you guys are going to be commenting about the number of BYU fans that showed up in person at this game.
No, I think it's great. And I've heard about how they flooded, Tucson and among other places that they've been as well. So because of Brigham Young fans who are watching, I'm sure they know who watch this show because we've gained a lot, as you know, as well, Taggart. That's how you kind of got to know us, is with all the realignment. Where is it going to be? Where will you guys be set up tomorrow morning into the afternoon?
All right, so we're throwing a big tailgate. It's going to be at Brazos Park East. It's just 2 or 3 miles north of McLean Stadium on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And it's just right up there on the river. We sold over 800 tickets, but you don't need a ticket to show up. We just did that so we could estimate food. We'll have some food trucks there and stuff, but it'll be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday before the game. We'll have the cheerleaders there. We'll have Cosmo, the mascot, will show up. We'll have a DJ, some music, food, and games. And, to say thank you to the city of to Baylor University and the city of Waco for hosting us, we're going to do a little food drive, canned food drive. So we're going to have a big truck there, dropping off canned foods and diapers and see what we can do to help stock some of the local food banks in Waco.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is so good. I'm glad we were able to get you, and you reached out to me a few weeks back about it. By the way, we got to get this right. It's the Brazos River. It's the Brazos River.
Brazos.
Yeah, the Brazos River.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and you'll get used to it. In a way, Taggart, what has the last, 5, 7, 8 weeks meant since the news about the Big 12 came down that included Brigham Young?
Listen, we are so excited to join the Big 12 because, listen, independence has been a blast. I mean, the variety of opponents, the variety of locations, we've been all over ESPN, but it's a drawback when you're playing the hardest part of your schedule is in your first 3 to 4 games. You don't have a conference championship to play for. So as soon as you lose one game, you're kind of just going for, the Independence Bowl or the Poinsettia Bowl and all that. And there's never like a conference player of the week or, coaches preseason conference. You miss out on all the conference stuff. So we are so excited. Plus, all of us, Texas and Oklahoma fans, we are excited because there are 7 schools in the conference within about a 5 to 6 hour radius. So we're going to be able to enjoy and go to those games. I'm so much happier being in the Big 12 than if we would have been invited to the Pac-12, for example.
I got to read this to you and Brigham Young fans. This is from Miles Thurman on the chat room. Oh, God. Now Brigham Young fans are doing a food drive. Stop it. I'm not supposed to like you guys.
Well, and I love it. I've been following your guys' show, and I love we're mutual respect between the teams. BYU fans will always be respectful guests in your house and also gracious hosts. If Baylor fans ever make it up to our stadium there in Provo, I think they'll love it. But I love just some good old-fashioned rivalry, some competitive games, but fans that can respect each other and get along and just thank each other for coming down to the game.
So, Taggart, it sounds to me like you're kind of almost excited you could be kind of a de facto season ticket holder on the road.
That's right. I was telling that to the BYU ticket office. I'm saying they offer these home ticket packages. Like, can we just put together an away ticket package and get us a game at each of the away games? Because people would do that.
Taggart again, bearing with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So obviously there's a disappointment that they lost last weekend. They turned it over quite a bit. That's not their style. Boise State with a huge win for them. What's been the reaction among BYU fans after that, their first hickey?
Well, it's good question. I mean, BYU was rolling. They were up 10-0. They looked unstoppable. And then it just started pouring rain in the second quarter, and it's on a natural field. The ball was getting muddy, and BYU just could not hold on to the ball. And Boise State did a great job of punching it out, had 3 quick fumbles in BYU's territory, and one when BYU was going in for a touchdown that really turned the tide of the game. And it was super duper disappointing because, it would have been awesome to come into this game up 6-0 on a 6-0 run. But, I think the excitement of joining the Big 12, this game, we've got some great games coming up with Virginia, Washington State, USC, and it just kind of, I don't know, we were kind of upset a little bit, but we quickly moved back into acceptance and then back down to the hype train on our BYU. And you know what? and just looking forward to, 2 years from now, we're going to be in a Power 5 conference. I think that kind of helped soften the blow a little bit of that loss.
So the Sailor Bear logo is what Baylor uses. It's one that fan base has loved. I mean, they're very affectionate to that particular logo on the helmet. Brigham Young's come out with their own. Has that ever been done before?
Well, it's funny you asked because I didn't even know that there was a Sailor Bear. I knew till this week, but I knew there was a Sailor Coug, and people have always been asking, "Hey, we need to do a uniform or a helmet with the sailor on and we've never done it before, and people have been asking for it, and there's there's always popular hats and shirts with the Sailor Coug on it that sell like hotcakes. But this is going to be the first time that I know of that the BYU equipment guys have given us what we wanted and put a sailor on the helmet. I think it's fun. It's a little sailor rivalry, so it's a blast.
All right, so tell everybody again where you guys will. The Brazos East Park, and I know where that is.
Yep, Brazos East Park. It's just up the road on Martin Luther King, just north of McLean Stadium on the east side of the river, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you have a ticket, great. If you don't have a ticket, come anyway. If you're a Baylor fan, you just want to stop by and visit with some BYU fans, we'd love to have you. There'll be barbecue. There'll be some more food trucks. Or selling merchandise, the cheerleaders, music, Cosmo, some games. It'll be a blast.
So you don't know this, Paul. You and I drive right by there. We take a ride off of Lake Shore, which connects to I-35 in a different way. So does MLK. And then you take a ride on MLK. You go right over a bridge, and that's right where the Brazos East Park is. They have all sorts of different things there, runs, I guess you call it, what is it, the Frisbee golf. They launch boats there to get on the Brazos River as well. And it's when you leave to go to McLean Stadium, you will drive right by our studio on the way there. Yeah, so you'll see our studio on the corner of Elm. It's the 6 big, large black windows right on the corner on a 3-story building that's kind of a condo apartment complex on Elm and MLK. So we're right around the corner, man.
I'll wave to you as we go by and miss you're at the game already.
Well, let us know, because Armstrong's got a camera that can get the street out front, right? And so text us when you're coming by, because we'll be on the air until about 2. This is fun. This is fun. How ironic, and I've asked this to a lot. I think some people get tired of me. The fact that Brigham Young and Baylor are playing for the first time in, 37 years, and it's this year when the conference things changed.
I love it. You know, and it's great. It's great timing. I mean, a lot of people as soon as that Big 12 announcement was announced, we circled this game and said, you know what, this is going to be a preview of what it's like to be in the Big 12 conference. So let's go to the game and let's show up, and we're excited about it. And to join Baylor's always been great. And I can tell you what, one thing that we share in common with Baylor is we enjoy a good old Longhorn or Sooner smackdown, like in 23 and 2014 and then 2009. So we hope we get a couple more shots at them before they scoot out to the SEC.
Was that when Taysom Hill went nuts?
Was it Taysom Hill? Who was the quarterback before Taysom Hill?
So Taysom Hill twice, in 2013 and 2014, and Jamal Williams. They ran for like 400-something yards.
It was crazy.
And then in 2009, it was the very, very first college game in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. It was Oklahoma coming off. They were in the national championship the year before. They had Sam Bradford, just won the Heisman. He was coming back for one more year to try to get a national championship, and they were ranked number 3 in the country. And BYU took them down in the very first game in that stadium.
Who was the quarterback of that team?
And that was Mac Hall at that game.
Yeah. Mac Hall,
Mac Hall, Dennis Pitta, and some of those guys. So it was a great game.
Yeah, Brad Nessler had the best line about Hall in that game. He said after they won, he showed him they were mouthing, and he said, "Oh my gosh, if they're allowed to say that in Provo."
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Or whatever they say in Provo, right?
Here's another text from Miles. Don't go to their tailgate. Their niceness will make you cheer less. It's a trap.
That's right.
I love it, man. Oh, I love it. Hey, great. Thanks for reaching out when you did, Taggart, a few weeks ago, and glad that this day is coming tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You know, I've been following your show ever since the announcement. I love it. You guys have great insight to the whole Big 12 conference. And, you know, Paul had a great idea. You know, if the loser has to listen to the other one's spiel. So if BYU wins, I know there's probably a couple missionaries in Waco that you could have on your show.
Wait a minute, we're not getting into that. No. But I think it's a great idea. Taggart, Barron, thank you, man. Class of '97, Brigham Young graduate. He's going to be here tomorrow. How about that?
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
In all the years we've done shows together, and/or Craig, when you were doing shows, same place. How many times have we had a fan base like this that has just jumped out like this and said, "Hey, we want to be involved"?
I can't think of one.
I mean, because of law, there's some tense rivals, of course, and doesn't mean there's not a lot of great fans on either side.
Iowa State does a pretty big tailgate when they come here, But this might beat that.
Yeah, but they're not nice at all.
Yeah,
I mean, like the Iowa State-Baylor thing, I have nothing against Iowa State. I have no reason to care whatsoever about Iowa State outside of just them being one of thousands of teams out there. But the amount of just hatred that some of their fan base has for Baylor for a variety of reasons or whatever, it's very odd to me. It's super strange. And therefore, no, they're not on the same line as BYU is currently. Hopefully BYU stays as friendly as they are and vice versa. But I think it's great. I've never seen a fan base, to your point, that's coming here with open arms and vice versa, like BYU and Baylor are this weekend. But also, of course, a game tomorrow. It's going to get serious and it's going to get nasty and physical. And I'm sure some of the folks that are toasting before the game are going to be yelling in different directions come tomorrow. But no, that was great, and thanks to Taggart, and looking forward to the new Big 12.
All right, from Cameron, look, TCU is literally in the same conference with Brigham Young, and Baylor schedules Brigham Young once, and now it's a new holy war. Thanks for the chat, Cameron, among many others.
I think Baylor leans a little bit more into that than TCU does these days, so that's part of it.
Gary Lewis made this point. In that Sam Bradford game, didn't they knock him out of the game? I think they did. I think they knocked Bradford out of that game as well. A lot of things going on with our text room. We're going to get to some of that as well. Chris wants to talk at some point about the new rules involving, or at least the discussion about eliminating the incoming test scores, ACT, SAT, whatever, and what that means. We'll get into that when we possibly can. But coming up, Grayson Grundhafer, there is a long list of commitments and or those that Baylor wants to play football at their university coming in this weekend for Brigham Young, and that's next. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim 365 Radio. IdealMRI.com. IdealMRI.com can do two things. One, find whatever pain you might have. Maybe it's your shoulder. Maybe it's a rotator cuff. Maybe it's something that's torn. Maybe it's a detached bicep. Maybe it's an ACL, MCL, or whatever is in your knee that hurts, your ankle, and elsewhere in your body. And they will find it with their state-of-the-art technology MRI machine that's as good as you can get. Number two, they will save you money when they find out why you can't sleep or function, you can't walk or run, or you can't do something because it hurts so badly. And they can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. The average MRI is $1,100. At IdealMRI.com, every single time or less, it's $497. I had an MRI there one time for something that I went in there to get, $497. They also help file the insurance, which might knock that down as well. Ideal MRI can also, if you're a man, as you get above 35 or 40, I talk about all the time, prostate cancer. My two older brothers have been through a pretty bad battle with it. They could also do an MRI on your abdomen to make sure there's nothing there if, in fact, you have any of those symptoms as well, or you just want peace of mind. They did that to me, and everything came back negative and clear. It's IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace, just off 35 in Waco.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Bird Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sikkim Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It was broad daylight,
I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
In the premium section earlier this week, Grayson Grundhafer put up a list of those who are attending the game this weekend, Brigham Young and Baylor. And there are about, 8 to 10 players who have already committed, 3 or 4 prospects for the class of 2022, about 8 or 10 for 23, a couple for 2024, and even maybe some surprise visitors. Grayson, how big a weekend will this be for Baylor?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest one that we've seen up to this point in the season. Obviously, Iowa State, there were a lot of really good visitors there. That definitely was a big game. One of those kind of statement kind of performances that Baylor put in front of a lot of prospective recruits, and that was a big deal. And I think this one might even be more important. I think that there are some big-time prospects on the list this weekend in the 2023 class, 2022 as well. That's been obviously a focus. They have a few spots left there, especially after Zach Pyron decommitted a couple months ago. But yeah, so I think this is one of those weekends where you want to show the recruits, this is homecoming weekend. This is Baylor. This is the football team. This is the product on the field. This is the environment. Like, homecoming should be one of the best environments on the football schedule this year, outside of maybe Oklahoma or the Texas game. But it should be right up there. So I think the staff is counting on that and hoping that, they can put together a win this weekend in front of some really, really good recruits, some highly ranked ones, honestly.
Grayson, a couple of things. Who are the quarterback targets to replace Zach Pyron? And why is it, especially when you see what's going on in Oklahoma, why is it important for teams to pretty much now always have to have a quarterback in the recruiting class because of the transfer portal?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I actually would tell you, based on everything I've been seeing and following for Baylor quarterback recruiting, I actually think their 2022 quarterback offer or scholarship offer is actually a guy that's already on the roster. And that's kind of been my belief for a while now, and that's C.J. Rogers, the walk-on from Argyle. They really liked him when they took him as a preferred walk-on, and the hope was that he would turn into a scholarship player. And I think if Baylor found a 2022 prospect they absolutely love, such as Zach Pyron, then they would take him. But if they don't, I don't think they're just going to take a quarterback to take a quarterback. And so I think that's where they're at right now. No offers have gone out. I haven't even heard really any interest on quarterbacks in the 2022 class, which leads me to believe that most likely situation is that C.J. Rogers gets a scholarship, and then they for sure 100% take a quarterback in the 2023 class, which they've already put out 3 offers in the 2023 class. So they're getting off to a nice start. All of those recruits are probably going to visit this season. Dripping Springs quarterback Austin Novosad, he's already visited. And I know Denton Guyer quarterback Jackson Arnold will be visiting for the Oklahoma game. So, a lot of optimism for 2023. But I think right now their focus really was all on Zach Pyron. And he committed to Georgia Tech, of course, a couple weeks ago. And it just seems like they're trending in the direction of not taking a quarterback in a class, which, like you said, is kind of unconventional these days.
So no quarterback likely in this class. You mentioned some of the guys visiting. What is the focus then for 2022 in your mind?
Yeah, so I think I can basically narrow one name down that has just absolutely been a focus ever since he was offered, and that's Khalil Shoemaker, defensive back Kamari Terrell. It wouldn't really be fair to call him a defensive back because he literally does everything for them. He's a great return man. He's got great speed, a heck of an athlete. So it's very clear that Kamari Terrell is an absolute priority in this class. I think outside of him, I think it's really about trying to find a best available type. You know, if you can find an elite prospect somewhere out there, if you can go, maybe switch a guy or flip a guy and try to get a commit like that. Maybe on the defensive line, maybe at wide receiver. I know they're loaded on the offensive line, but I wouldn't rule that out either. So I think it's more best available type. And then I think the third spot. So my belief is they have 2 to 3 spots. I think it'll probably be a defensive back and then a best available type and then probably a defensive lineman. I think that's an area they've really wanted to add there ever since official visits. It just hasn't really worked out quite yet. But a guy like Calvin Dinkins out of Mississippi, he took an official visit to Baylor. He's an interesting one. Devontae Tizino out of Clean Ellison is another name to keep an eye on. So, yeah, I would say probably, defensive back, defensive line, and then maybe a best available to round out the class.
How much did the Omari Evans commitment to Penn State, which, again, is a very big-time blue blood type of program, how much did that sting?
Not a lot, to be honest. And it's not really about, it's just such a tough situation because Omari Evans is a really, really good player. But the issue is he's probably a wide receiver, and Baylor really needs defensive backs more so than wide receivers in this class at this moment. So I would say that it was one where they obviously liked Omari. He came on a visit. He visited Baylor. He had talked about possibly taking an official visit to Baylor, and just none of that really came together, which leads me to believe that, he really liked Penn State. I mean, he went to their whiteout game. It's hard to beat an environment like that. So that's point number one. And point number two is I just don't know that Baylor felt like they had to land Omari Evans in this class. And I don't think Omari was saying, I have to be a Baylor Bear. So I think it was kind of one of those things. And sometimes that happens. But I can tell you that his teammate is one this Baylor staff really, really wants. I mean, Kamari Terrell, he checks all the boxes as far as a long, lengthy cornerback with elite speed, especially in track, and just a guy that I think his speed really translates to the football field.
You and the Bearcats with Craig Smoak every Tuesday, launched into the premium section, of course, an hour plus. Have you guys ever gone less than an hour?
No.
I think we, Craig, I don't know about you, but I think I can probably remember, when we had to record at the old studio in the rain when we were basically talking about tennis for an hour. That was, we probably had a couple 45-minute ones.
Yeah, it's maybe in 1 or 2. That's it.
It's unbelievable, and there's no time limit. Hour 14, hour 3.
I try to keep it somewhat realistic. I mean, otherwise we'd just be sitting there all day long. But yeah, it's at least an hour every week
because you guys have so much there. Before. Yeah, and again, it's because of all the information can go in different ways. You had the C.J. Rogers thing, did you not? Like many weeks ago. That, in fact, I think I even mentioned C.J. Rodgers as somebody that don't forget about him as being a part of that quarterback room.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of reiterated that. And even when he came in as a preferred walk-on, we tried to tell everyone he's not a normal preferred walk-on. As in, he should have probably gone to a Power 5 school. It just didn't work out with COVID and among other things. I mean, it was like his, I think, first or second year actually playing the quarterback position. So still a high ceiling there for a guy like that. And so, yeah, I mean, don't forget about him. And honestly, I don't think Baylor would be too upset if he is their 2022 quote-unquote quarterback for the class, because I think he's a very good player. And also, they've gotten to see him on campus, which is such an advantage. You know, when you go get a recruit, a lot of times you have to get lucky and hope that they actually show up and they're actually really good on a college football field. Whereas with DJ, you kind of know that already because you get to see him in practice every day.
Yeah, and he hasn't played that position very long. He's kind of one of those diamonds in the rough. I've seen some videos. His dad has sent me some stuff of his workouts during the summer. He might just be one. You never know. There's always stories like that happen. A guy that's a so-called walk-on that just forces his way up the ladder.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Baylor actually expected that from him. You know, when they took him, I don't think the expectation was, oh, you're just going to be a walk-on for 4 years. I think it was like, we want you to come in because we think you could be our quarterback eventually. So he's that kind of walk-on. He's that kind of, you hope he turns into a Baker Mayfield. There aren't that many of them. But if CJ is one of those guys, Baylor's going to be awfully happy.
So, Grayson, real quick, your thoughts on the game tomorrow against BYU, a top 25 opponent. Baylor has a chance to get bowl eligible and head into the bye week at 6-1. But BYU's a good team, no doubt about it. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, guys, I mean, they finally don't have to play a top 15 run defense like they've had to play in the last 3 weeks. It's been an absolute gauntlet for them going and playing, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. So now you face the BYU team who I think they're a little more susceptible in the run game as well as the pass game. So I think they can be attacked very similarly to West Virginia. So I expect the offense to put up some points. But one thing I will say is BYU is very well coached. And I think that gives them the ability to stay in this game, even though I do think Baylor is a much better football team this year. I just think BYU will play disciplined football, be able to run the ball, try to control time of possession, try to force some turnovers. But overall, I think Baylor's just the better team. I expect the Bears to win by maybe double digits. 10, 11 points would kind of be my thought process on this game. But I expect BYU to make this a 4-quarter game. I don't think it'll be like last weekend.
Thank you very much, Grayson. Appreciate your time covering up all who will be in town, those who might be in town, surprise visitors, etc. And thanks for your time on Sikkim 365 Radio. When we come back, LSU, Ed Orgeron, that hot seat he is on. Mike Scarborough will update us on what's going on in Baton Rouge. He's next. JJ Joe 430, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Got the lack of vehicles on the lot right now as they have had, some distribution problems going on at Richard Carr. They've had, not quite a few vehicles on the lot here currently. And so you should know that new cars and trucks are coming. There is new inventory that's coming on the way. And so right now it's a good idea to get your name on that first priority list at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They have great customer service. And so I want to let you know that there's not a lot, again, on the lot right now. That's the bad news because of the computer chip shortages. It's affecting all it's affecting all the vehicle inventory across the country. But there are cars coming, and they will have a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Buick, GMC, or Cadillac, they're all being shipped right now. So get your name on that first-in-line priority list. And if you need a pickup, get the best with the Sierra from Richard Carr. It's got refinement, luxury, power, and strength combined to make Sierra the best truck on the road. If you're looking for a roomy SUV, consider a Buick. The Buick lineup of SUVs offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle, or maybe you want the ultimate combo of sophistication and power with a new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. If you're looking to save and drive today, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, each going through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot. And with dozens of lenders, they say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by Richard Carr for a test drive today. And for those in the Waco area, they are your local hometown dealership. So give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Johnson is going to go to the end zone, and Boutte! How about that? Solves all problems, doesn't he? Keyshawn Boutte, 31-yard touchdown catch.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We try to bring you the picture from throughout the country, including, of course, right here in our backyard. We've heard from a Brigham Young fan, from Grayson Grundhafer, and also much more to come. J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor color analyst on Baylor Radio, will join us at 4:30. Mike Scarborough joins us, tigerbait.com. He's got LSU all covered. We've had Mike on before. He's great at what he does. And Armstrong, do we have Mike on the technology of? Yes, we do. Oh, look at that little beautiful background with the LSU helmet. How you been, Mike?
I'm doing good. We're just kind of wondering if we're going to have an interim situation or if Orgeron's going to finish out the season. And it's before I went on with you guys, getting a text from someone saying thinking it'll be Sunday or Monday. But we thought that last week. So I don't know which way this thing's going to go, but what I do know is that the fan base has really not wanted to talk about breaking down the LSU-Florida game tomorrow morning. It's been nothing but who's the next coach going to be, and that's where we're at.
Mike, when it comes to Ed Orgeron, clearly he had some great assistants in Joe Brady and Dave Aranda, and both those guys have moved on to other places. Where did it start to go wrong before you get into any of the off-the-field stuff in the Title IX investigation?
I think it started to go off the rails a little bit where you had several recruiting classes where there's not much left of them. They've obviously been hit by the injury bug. I think there's been some bad hires as well. I think you had the COVID year. You had a national championship hangover. I think there's a lot of stuff probably in Ed Orgeron's personal life that could have had something to do with it that's been documented over and over here locally. But it's just and what's unfortunate is that I do think in this last go-round of hires that he's got some good coaches on that staff. Durante Jones is defensive coordinator. Blake Baker is linebackers coach. I think Andre Carter has done good with the defensive line. Obviously, I think probably the biggest factor as to why LSU's in the shape they're in is the offensive line is just not of SEC caliber, but it goes beyond that. There's a little bit of everything into this gumbo pot as to why LSU's gone from the heights of one of the most magical seasons in college football history to the butt of a lot of jokes.
Mike, can you give us kind of a short summary of the injury list? I mean, it seems like every day it's been one or two new names for like the last week that have become sidelined.
Well, yeah, you've lost both your starting defensive ends. Andre Anthony earlier in the season, now Ali Gay's out for the year. You've lost both of your All-American cornerbacks. There wouldn't be anybody in the country that LSU would want to have swapped starting cornerbacks with going into the season. So Stingley and Eli Ricks are both out. They've had some injuries in safety that they've had to move some guys around. Before the season even got kicked off, they lost Dario Rosenthal, their starting left tackle, who ended up transferring to Kentucky and starting against them last week. So it's John Emery, who was a 5-star running back, was ineligible, which was something they obviously knew last December because he finished the fall semester and wasn't a full-time student. How that got past anybody, how he was allowed to only carry 9 hours, thus being a part-time student, is beyond me. With all the checks and balances, the academic center, the tutors, the guidance counselors, position coaches, so many people that have their hands on that kind of information. So it's just been one little disaster after another that's culminated into a big disaster.
Isn't that, although not quite the same, when you see some of what LSU has been, the mud that they've been dragged through with some of the other stuff involving Miles or whatever, isn't that something that kind of continues to go back to who all are doing the checks and balances, whatever it might be?
Yeah, and I don't know what the inner workings are. Y'all know who Austin Thomas is. He was at Baylor. Scott Woodward brought him in to try and be a general manager to fix some of these things. But I don't know what his day-to-day activity is. And that's another part of this football program. I don't know if it's as big at Baylor as it is at LSU and a lot of SEC schools. But there sure are a lot of analysts and people in the building that have jobs that, you wonder where the duplication is and who's doing what, because some of the stuff that you see just doesn't make sense. And I think another part of all this, too, is where LSU's really – I've never seen so many injuries that LSU's had. If you look at the starting depth chart for the UCLA game week and you start marking through guys who are no longer available because of injury, either catastrophic and then even backups, I mean, it's almost every line. I mean, that's how many starters they're missing. And it was the same thing last year. So I don't know what they're doing in the strength and conditioning program that's different than they did previous years. But this is unlike any year I've ever seen, which then, of course, has Ed Orgeron in the predicament he is, where he's essentially, my show the other night, the title of it was that the Ed Orgeron era is terminal. And I think hospice is well in the house now and administering heavy doses of pain meds.
So you mean if they beat Florida, he's gone anyway?
Yeah, I don't think there's any scenario where he stays.
Okay.
What kind of coach do they want? Do the fans want? What kind of coach do they need? Because both those things often don't intersect.
Well, here's the thing. Y'all know all about the Title IX stuff that's going on. So, I know there's a lot of fans that would keep bringing up Lane Kiffin. And, of course, I think Jimmy Sexton, his agents, is making sure that his name's out there hot and heavy. I just have a hard time believing that is a Woodward type of hire. I think he absolutely wants a very sober, established guy who's going to bring some consistency and stability to the program. So, when we start putting out a hot board, and I think LSU's hot board is going to be very similar to what you see at USC. There's a lot of overlap. Mario Cristobal is probably the top of my list. Kiffin obviously will be there. But Brian Kelly, James Franklin, Luke Fickell, and Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator at Alabama, and there's others. I mean, we've talked a bit about the coach at Boston College, Coastal Carolina. Eric Bieniemy's name is coming up a good bit. Mel Tucker. So I think that's some of the names to watch out for right now. So on one hand, I'm telling LSU fans, look, you're disappointed and you're disillusioned and you don't even care. I mean, I had a buddy of mine sending me sweet tickets with all the fixings and the fancy food and the alcohol and the suite and parking pass and the works, and I had a hard time getting rid of it for tomorrow morning. Wow. That tells you everything too. When an LSU Florida game is kicking off at 11 a.m., something is wrong.
No doubt about it.
Nobody wants to be in a football stadium in Baton Rouge or in their seat or on their way to the stadium at 7 or 8 a.m. That doesn't work in Louisiana.
Mike, I have to at least ask you because you just ran down a list of names there. But, we do cover Baylor, obviously. Do you think that they would want to make a phone call to Dave Aranda just to see his interest level?
I don't know. I don't think so. But who knows? I mean, I haven't mentioned him. There's Billy Napier at UL Lafayette. His name comes up a good bit. I was joking during the summer. He was, when Ed Orgeron does his football camps, he allows all the coaches from all the state schools to be there at his football camps because, they'll have 600-800 kids. And it's a great thing for Louisiana Tech, the Raging Cajuns, Tulane. They're all there, and they're able to scout prospects too. Well, Napier was there every day. And I said, what is he doing, measuring for drapes? I mean, he didn't miss a day that he could have been out there at 3 camps. So, but look, I think the list is going to be substantial. I think he's going to go big. That's what he does. You guys know that. So I think it's going to be – I think that the list is going to be a who's who. And normally when you see these hot boards from schools like LSU, you kind of laugh and say, they ain't getting that guy. But when Scott Woodward's involved, it's a whole different animal than Joe Oliva. And the list that's being that we're talking about is a whole lot different than 2016 when it was Tom Herman or bust, and then it was Ed Orgeron. And then I always tell people, had LSU lost that last game to Texas A&M when Ed Orgeron was interim coach, how bad it was, the possibilities that year. The next guy in line was going to be Larry Fedora. That's how bad things were.
Yeah, we saw him instead in Waco, and it didn't last long.
And we don't know if that was just a strange year because of all the things they couldn't do, really, and the connection and the practices, no spring drills. But it was not a good year, obviously, for Larry, and there could have been more reasons than just him being the offensive coordinator. Craig asked you about Dave Aranda. We've had a lot of people in the chat, Mike, asking about Byron Leftwich. You may have mentioned him. I'm not sure. Have you heard his name at all?
I haven't heard anything him at all. But I think most fans here, it's probably you've got a big Lane Kiffin contingent, and then you've got a big Mario Cristobal contingent. And one of the things that's been a bugaboo for LSU is offensive linemen. This state produces incredible athletes, wide receivers, defensive backs, etc. You'll have a decent amount of defensive linemen, but not overwhelming. And I think that's also, by the way, where Orgeron made a mistake. He pushed Aranda out the door because he wanted to go to a 4-3, when in reality, you're better off with a 3-4 because it's hard to recruit the quality of defensive lineman and numbers you need for a 4-3. But I think Mario Cristobal, being an offensive line guru, and in fact, he came in Louisiana and took one of the best offensive linemen in the last decade away from LSU, Cam Robinson. And so I think that's why he's a Hyde guy. And then the other fact is that if Alabama had to make a decision, had to hire a coach because Saban retired, Cristobal is likely the number one guy on Alabama's list.
Wow.
See, most people would say that would be Dabo Swinney because he's an Alabama guy, but yeah, Cristo, that's an interesting point, Mike. That
most Alabama fans can't stand Dabo.
Most
college football fans can't stand Dabo.
There you go. You said it.
Mike, be nice. By the way, because of this segment, Mike is going to send us some boudin. We have people on the chat room that ask Tim in Iowa, always asking about boudin. And what was the story you said you went to the 409, which is down near Beaumont, to go watch a commitment or a recruit or a prospect?
I went to go see Beaumont Ozine in Beaumont at that whatever that name of that stadium is right there on I-10. And I'm there in pregame warm-ups. They're playing Zydeco music. I go to the concession stand. They got boudin and crackling. And I'm like, am I in Louisiana or I'm in Texas?
No, it's pretty much Louisiana. You are in Louisiana when you're in the 409, I think.
Yeah, the culture is seeping over there.
If there was ever a war for the border, Beaumont would be very disputed territory.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, they'd be torn apart.
That's Southeast Texas. I grew up in Northeast Texas, and that was basically Louisiana. I mean, it was Tyler, just like 2 hours to Shreveport, and it's like basically
it really is
next door neighbor.
And there are places.
Now, there's a big difference between North Louisiana, that Shreveport Bossier area, and South Louisiana. Everything. A lot of people here say anything south of Alexandria is a whole new world because of, obviously Mardi Gras, a higher Catholic contingent, and the partying that's down here. Whereas up north, where Kim Mulkey went to school, and it was a dry parish, that's more of the East Texas Bible Belt heading into Mississippi.
Yeah,
more Baptist.
Who went to school up there?
Yeah. I had to drop her name on y'all, didn't I?
Yeah. We appreciate it. It's the first time women's basketball has been mentioned in a long time. By the way, and it will be because of Nikki Collins is going to be pretty good. Have you had the opportunity yet to kiss her ring?
No, but I did go to my first ever practice. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've never been to a women's basketball practice.
Oh, we lost your audio there, Mike.
Yeah, we may have lost.
Is it back?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, by the way, that's the second time today the CDC is calling me for asking me to do a questionnaire with them.
Don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it. No, and I'll do. I mean, she's brought obviously excitement to that area. You've seen it. There's people that practice or whatever.
Oh, look, I was talking to the SID last night. They had a little over 800 season ticket holders. And now they're right at 5,000.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. She'll create that. She's going to create the energy. It'll be really interesting to see how that goes. And now you can also learn how to get to those women's basketball games.
Yeah, I'm. Their first game is a high school deal, like at 11 in the morning, and it's going to be open to all high schools for free. So that one's not going to have the fanfare that you would think a first Kim Mulkey basketball game would have. So the second game, I believe, is actually going to be where they have all the fanfare, and I'm sure they're going to have giveaways and commemorative this and that. And Dale Brown used to have the tiger come out of the ceiling on a rope. They might even have some of that and fireworks and all that stuff.
You and our conversations that you and I have about many things we should record those because they would be absolutely amazing podcasts. But I love those conversations. Hey,
but Smoak, we'd be canceled.
Yeah, we would be canceled. We would absolutely be canceled. Hey, Mike, enjoy the weekend. Although I don't know if anyone is, but thanks for the update on Ed Orgeron and what's going on with LSU football. It's amazing how that flipped so quickly after 2 or 3 years ago, that national championship. Thank you, buddy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anything you guys need, talk soon. Hey, y'all have a good weekend.
We love going to Mike for anything LSU, and he, of course, he and I probably have talked 15 or 20 times in the last 5 months or so since Kim Mulkey eventually moved to Baton Rouge and LSU. All right, at the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from J.J. Joe.
Well, that's interesting to hear that even if they beat Florida, like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter at all.
Isn't that nuts?
I mean, it is, and it's also like you can see the writing's been on the wall for a long time. I mean, they had that magical run, man, and it was great, and it was an all-timer, and nothing will ever change that for LSU fans. They'll have that for forever, but, you cut out like 75% of your brain and then, act like you're going to still be operating the same. No, you're not. You're not going to when you lose the assistant coaches that they did, and Dave Aranda being one of those, and then you lose the talent that they had on top of that. I mean, yeah, okay, you recruit 5 stars and blah, 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 blah. That's fine, but not every 5-star is Joe Burrow, and he wasn't a 5-star. So, like, the world came together for them that year in every way, shape, or form, and they had one of the greatest all-time teams ever. And then since then, it's been nothing but bad. So hopefully LSU fans enjoyed it, and now you get ready for a coaching search.
Yeah, and it happens more often now than you really – would have in the past as a school wins a national championship and then a couple years later soured on the coach. I read an article in The Athletic the other day. It happened to Urban Meyer at Florida. It happened to Jimbo Fisher at Florida State. It happened to Gene Chizik. It's happened to Ed Orgeron. The expectations become higher, and when the coach doesn't meet that magical year's expectations, no matter what, then all they get a year or two of everything you do is great, and then after that, all of that goodwill is gone, because if you haven't done it again, if you haven't been Nick Saban, then people get mad and they get tired of you. It might be happening to Dabo Swinney right now. I mean, if Clemson doesn't get it turned around, I don't think so, but if they don't get it turned around in a hurry, he's going to experience it as well, whether he deserves it or not.
It's interesting. I'd like to know, and I don't have it off the top of my head, coaches from, let's say, and I know this is like for some of you well before you were born, but coaches from around this, let's say 1970 and on, but not in the last 10 or 12, 15 years. We've seen Les Miles, Gene Chizik, Orgeron's about to be one, whatever we've mentioned, gone, fired. Coaches in the 70s that won national titles, how many of them were run out of town? Was John Robinson? No, he went to the NFL, right? Yeah. I don't think John McKay was. I know Darryl Royal wasn't, although he kind of eventually, because Oklahoma started to have their success in what Switzer was doing. Switzer was because of the scandal in the late 80s. But, not McCartan, what's his name?
Yeah, but they weren't dealing with nearly the issues
that
the coaches
everything's so public now.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that it's public. I mean, if Barry Switzer actually had this type of media around back when he was coaching, he would have been screwed. I mean, he would have been done. He would have been on TMZ drunk as all get out, on multiple occasions. And I love Barry Switzer, but it's true. Like, at the same time, though, they weren't dealing with the transfer portal. They weren't dealing with COVID-19. They weren't dealing with NIL. They weren't dealing with, the conference realignments, and I guess to an extent some were at maybe some points, but not like the shuffling that it's become now, and potentially could become even more so moving forward. I just think now, like, it's just you don't have as much rope. You just simply don't. I mean, yeah, you won a national title 2 years ago, but then what did you do? There's this Title IX thing, and there's also the fact that, you came out right away after losing Dave Aranda and said Bo Pelini's actually going to be better. I mean, and then he turned out to be absolutely awful, and you did not replace the talent on the offensive side of the coaching staff either. I don't know. Edo seems like a good dude. I've never ever once believed he was a great football coach by any means. I think just like I said, everything came together for LSU that year across the board. But it's fascinating to see, a downfall so quickly. It really, regardless of why it happened or how it happened or whatever. And let's face it, you get 3 years at best. And if you win a national title, you may get yourself a little bit longer. But not if you don't win still at a regular level, and not if you also have a bunch of stuff swirling that could be damaging.
Well, and think about what LSU had the problem with. Les Miles, there are 22 starters on the football team. 21 of them, every other school but maybe Alabama would have traded player for player and gotten better. But the one he could not find a quarterback to save his life. And then Joe Burrow transfers in from Ohio State, has kind of an okay junior season, and then his senior season becomes the Joe Burrow we're watching now. But there, by the grace of Joe Burrow, they still would be kind of doing the same thing with Les Miles, where they would win most of their games because they had a lot of talent, but when they played a team with an elite quarterback, they would lose.
Well,
because that's what would happen.
When they won their national title under Les Miles, was that not with Matt Flynn?
Yeah.
And that was not with what you would call, Matt Flynn was a hell of a high school quarterback in Tyler, as Craig's friend, and played with him a little bit in baseball. But they won with Matt Flynn. Jamarcus Russell was before that, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't win with him. No, he might have been, I think, before that. Who was their quarterback the second time they came around and won it? It was
Matt Mock and Matt Flynn.
Matt Mock, and neither one of them
was first.
Yeah,
Matt Mock was first.
That's right. Neither one of them are looked at as somebody like your.
Matt Mock beat Oklahoma.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And
Oklahoma had the greatest team of all time, and then proceeded to lose 2 national title games in a row.
All right, from Miles. By the way, whatever, guys, if Dabo ever went to Alabama, they would love him there as long as he won. Gary Lewis, I've heard the same thing about Cristobal and also Alabama. And then Gary said this, we break. Bayou people call Shreveport Bossier people Yankees.
I can believe that, yeah.
All right, when we come back in the chat rooms talking about many things, including Jay talking about Texas and others talking about the Big 12. And JJ Joe talks Baylor and Brigham Young, and he's next on Sikkim 365 Radio. So we gave away some tables to the concert last night, Oktoberfest at Woodway. There was a concert, and we gave away 3 tables for 6. And I've heard from a couple of those who won the tables. They said they had an absolutely fantastic time, and they thanked me for it. Well, thank the city of Waco. DiscoverWoodway.com on the website. And they have concerts constantly going through in the Arboretum, including coming up concerts at the Arboretum featuring 2 Tons of Steel. That's October the 28th. They have a Cops and Kids Halloween drive-thru coming up on, Halloween night as well. There's a Veterans Breakfast November the 12th, and much, much more. And mid-November, concerts at the Arboretum featuring Jake Hoot and Sundance Head. They had a great deal last night, and they continue to bring that to the Arboretum and to the city of Woodway, but also to everybody else around, because Woodway's right there attached to the southern part of Waco. DiscoverWoodway.com also has all the information if you want to continue to be a part of sand volleyball or even flag football that continues here in October. And we'll have more information and more tables and tickets to give away to some of their concerts, thanks to Jesse Reed and DiscoverWoodway.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Thanks to Richard Carr, Richard Goff. Thanks to Lance Aldridge, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac sponsoring our Baylor segments. JJ Joe, who's been so patient with us. We've been asking him a lot to come on because we love his insight and he's good at it. And also that's why he's the color analyst of Baylor Radio. All right, JJ, they look really good on offense against West Virginia. What does Brigham Young do, in your opinion, that will either allow Baylor to do some things they've done well or struggle?
Well, Smoak, thanks for having me on, man. You know, I always love it. It's great to talk Baylor football. Yeah, I mean, I think last week's game plan was fantastic. I liked the way Coach handed the ball to Gary and told him, hey, look, we're going to probably win with you or lose with you. And that was I think the big change from Oklahoma State. But in any case, I think this week, you have a very experienced defense. They do have a few young players that sub in here and there, but these guys are big. They're physical. They'll go some man. I think early Smoak, the offensive game plan is going to have to be, really trying to make sure you use your edge guys. I mean, I really think Treston out of the backfield, Taekwon, of course, RJ, and we haven't seen much of him, but he's still there. Drew, those guys have to have good games, and Gary has to have a good game. Throw on the ball, kind of loosen these guys up a little bit. So we'll see, but that's kind of my thought early on.
How impressed were you with the fact that they were able to use the passing game to set up the run as opposed to the other way around early in that game? Because against Oklahoma State, they just could not break themselves away from running the ball, even though it wasn't working.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just think that the plan was different. And I said it, I think, to you guys last week, that I think that, I don't say they were ready. I just want to say that they just this is the first time this offensive staff has faced what I would call what a true Big 12 defense is. It's a bunch of hybrid guys that play downhill, they play fast, they try to plug with numbers. Iowa State was not a good comparable. I would say it'll be a better comp for these guys than the guys we normally see. So I think that they learned a lot. And I think I said that then. I think Coach Grimes, Coach Mateos learned a ton against Oklahoma State. You hate that it had to be an L, but then I thought you saw the fruit against West Virginia, because West Virginia is very similar. They're going to play very similar to Oklahoma State. They're going to have the hybrid guys that are going to play downhill on early downs. They're trying to get you in second and third and long. And then they want to dance with you on the edge, or they want to, drop in coverage and make you throw against 8. So they did a great job of early, like I said, giving the ball to Gary. I think I went through something, in an article, Ashley at 6'6" and 365 is like, he did a great job of saying in the first 10 plays, Gary had to make a decision on 60% of those plays. And then that really loosened West Virginia up, kept them off balance. And I think that just got the momentum going.
JJ, you mentioned Drew Estrada in passing. We've finally been able to see him the last couple of weeks fully healthy, and he's become a top 3 receiver on this team, I think, along with RJ, even though RJ's last couple of weeks have been quiet, and as well as Tyquan, who's really exploded as of late. What does Drew bring to the table in your mind? What have you seen, and how impressed have you been with just his role through these last couple of games?
Yeah, Drew, I didn't know much. When a guy goes to Dartmouth, you figure he's a little bit smarter than everybody, but maybe not as athletic as what you think until you watch him play. And then you see him play, and you see that I think he's faster than most people think. And then I think he is more athletic, or more, I guess you could say, bouncy than people think. He is a receiver that you can tell skill-wise has really developed his skill. I think the best one, and Ricky pointed this out when we were on the air, that he had one pass that I think Gary really underthrew him. It was a fade route or a seam route that looked like a fade. And he kind of underthrew him a little bit, but Gary kind of threw it outside and a little bit. He had to slow down. And instead of flipping his head and kind of trying to get a different perspective, he slowly throttled down and just widened. He had enough room to widen and fade, and the ball hit him like right where it needed to hit him. That's professional wide receiver play right there. And so this young man, I think he's a 6th-year guy, I think, and he's athletic. He knows how to play receiver. He attacks the ball, and he's going to start getting attention, which I think then will free up and open up Tyquan and RJ more.
They have continued the defense to force turnovers. Last week, Brigham Young coughed it up, 2 or 3 times, and that was with fumbles. Your thoughts about how Dave Aranda's, even last year's team when they were 2-7, they continue to thrive on forcing turnovers no matter who they're playing?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I would doubt BYU turns it over that much. They're just not one of those teams on Saturday, tomorrow. But, it was kind of interesting. I watched that tape, and it was a big fumble, like you said. It was kind of weird. The ball was coming loose. It was a little wet, so I think that played a little bit into it as well. But for Coach Roberts and Coach Aranda, it's really a blessing to have these kind of football players too. When we had the 19 team and lost a lot of those young men, especially those guys up front, the 20 team actually played decent defense, I thought, gave up a little bit more than we would want, but they did turn people over. And I think when you have the type of players we have, I think when you have a Terrell Bernard, a Jalen Petrie, you got JT Woods, Christian Morgan, and you got guys coming. You got Ashton Logan. Even you also have Matt Jones, my good buddy Matt Jones. Those guys run fast, and they bring intention when they come, and they are around the football and they're swiping at it. So when you have a defense of veteran guys that play with that kind of speed and tempo, they're going to get turnovers just because they're going to be where they need to be when the ball pops loose. Against most college teams, as long as you don't give them 80-yard bombs and they score, they'll eventually give you a chance of getting that ball loose. And Coach Aranda and Coach Roberts' team, group, they've done a great job at that.
Baylor, Brigham Young, 2:30 tomorrow at McLean Stadium. JJ, there seems to be a really cool build-up for this game because of the Big 12, because Brigham Young is ranked in the top 20, and it was higher than that. And what Baylor might be on the cusp of getting right back, and if they do win, most likely inside the top 25 or top 20. Do you feel that as well?
I do. It's a great build-up. I love it. Number one, we've never hardly played BYU. When was the last time? 84? Yep. 83? I think I was in middle school, junior high, I think, man. So that's great. And they had 2 competitive contests. I think we won once and they won once. And then, like you said, the Big 12 kind of backdrop is fantastic. So we figure we'll start seeing this these guys are not these specific players, but this team quite often. So it's great. And I hate that they lost, but they are a top 20 team. They're solid. I think people feel like Baylor is right on the cusp. The Oklahoma State game, I think, is a respectable loss. This BYU game, I think, is going to be one of those non-conference litmus tests of, okay, are these guys really for real? And can we think that they're going to really make some noise in the Big 12, even though this is the Big 12 game? So, man, I'm excited, and I just pray these guys play, both teams. I don't want anybody hurt. Just play your best game, and let's see a great football game. And I know Baylor's favored by like 6, but man, I see this thing being pretty tight. I mean, I just looking at some tape and looking at stuff, and these teams know each other well because of the coaches. It's yelling that it's going to be a 3-point, maybe 4 or 5 point game. It seems to be close.
JJ, I like Baylor's chances, trying to contain Algier, and maybe I'm off on that, but it seems to me that BYU is going to want to air it out. I mean, that just seems to make sense. And this defensive secondary, I mean, we really have not seen them tested all that often throughout the year so far, where a team's really just attacked them. Could you see that, being on a strategy of BYU? And what do you think of this secondary? Looks like Kalen Barnes could be back after missing the last couple of games. But what have you made of what you have seen from the secondary? Do you think they're ready for the challenge?
I really think they are. I mean, but I'll be honest with you, I'm concerned. And I know you guys have seen what I've seen. I mean, they have some tall guys. They're not burners, as a lot of people will say. But when people tell you that, you think they're slow. These guys are not slow, right? They're not slow. Gunnar Romney, Neil Powell, those guys are not slow. Isaac Rex, but they're not, Taekwon.
Right.
But they're 6'4", they're 6'6", they're 6'2", they're 6. I mean, the tight end is Isaac Rex. I'm sorry, but I mean, they're just huge dudes. So. It's going to happen. I mean, I got a quarterback in Jaron Hall that's back. He played pretty good last week. If I get somebody matched up against Raleigh, what I'm going to do? I'm going to give him a chance. If Baylor doesn't provide help with Christian or JT, I think tomorrow's game defensively will really be dictated by how well JT and Christian play. A lot will be talked about up front. How does Siaki play? How does Gabe Hall and all those guys play? But I really think those safeties will be put in a crux. They're going to see that play action. They're going to see that run action, and they're going to be tempted to get involved in the run action. And then they're going to have to help on the edge. When you've got a guy that's even 6'1" going against a guy 6'4", or a guy 5'8" going against a guy 6'4", and the quarterback knows how to throw it to him, those safeties have to be ready to help, and they got to read stuff quickly. So I'll be interested. I expect those two to play well.
JJ, going into you want to win any game, obviously, whether you have 5 games in a row coming up, conference game coming up, whatever it is. But how much winning the way they did against West Virginia and finding a way if they can beat Brigham Young, then have an off week to then regroup, maybe decompress, fix a couple of more things up. You then have Texas at home. All these games in October have either been home or off weeks. How much does that help if you can win going into an off week, or does it matter?
Yeah, I'm sure you talk to a lot of guys. It would be the perfect thing for this team to win. It wouldn't be a killer because, I mean, like if you lose the game, it's still not a conference game. You're still, from a conference perspective, in the same position. But number one, you don't want to lose and have to go and not play for 2 weeks. It's horrible. It just feels horrible. So it really means a lot, I think, for the psyche of this team a little bit. Not that they will fall apart. But then I think then they would get back that air of, hey, look, we're better. I mean, we're pretty good, right? I think they kind of feel that way. But then I think if you go beat a top 20 team in BYU, and then you have 2 weeks to prepare for Texas, and you have to think this will be week 7. These guys need a break. You take that break, you get relaxed, you come back. The coaches don't have to worry about getting you up because UT is coming to town. So that week would be great preparation. Man, I think this would set them up for a run that, may be memorable. You remember what's in November. So hopefully that's what's setting up here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Paul, anything? Yep. JJ, Greg, JJ, Joe, former Baylor quarterback, color analyst, Baylor Radio. JJ, we appreciate you as always. 2:30 the kickoff, or just after that, Baylor and Brigham Young. Our pregame tomorrow will be at 12 o'clock from here inside the studio. 12:30. Well, inside the studio, 101 Elm and also MLK. When we come back, We're not done. We have much more to come, including at 5 o'clock, former Waco High. They play Midway tonight. We have that game on 106.7 FM, the Eagle, and Sikkim 365 Radio. But also, former Brigham Young wide receiver Margene Hooks will join us today at 5, but we'll come back with more of this, in fact, 4 o'clock hour, Sikkim 365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. How can he do that? Well, you need to contact him, and that's easy. You get online, Petty Clinic, LowT.com. In the top left-hand corner, there's an email and a phone number. You can do either one. And when you call them or you send them an email, you tell them, hey, Smokey sent me. Maybe there's an issue that you've had when it comes to sleep, your energy, or even sex drive. Whatever's happening to you that's not the same in any of those ways. Those are symptoms of low testosterone. That doesn't mean you have low testosterone, but that could be a symptom or all three. So Dr. Kent Petty will set you up with a doctor or lab work, get your blood results, check your testosterone levels, and if they're too low, he can put you in a program to raise them up so you can become that high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and perhaps even used to be. Maybe there's only one of those symptoms. Maybe there's two or all three, and he can help you out. At Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting. We fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We've had some of you, Chris among others, ask about the latest possible changes in the NCAA when it comes to recruiting prospects, those who have eligibility to enter a college or university. During the COVID, there have been schools that have changed up test scores. Not changed up. They've changed whether or not they are worried about getting your test scores. Now, I want to tell you, I'm proudly going to tell you that I wouldn't have gotten into a lot of schools with my ACT score. But I did. Junior college, and eventually the Harvard of the South and Stephen F. Austin. But this is kind of a trend. NCAA Task Force recommends removing minimum standard test scores in an effort to advance racial equity. This is a big deal because if you'll remember, at one point there was the Prop 48. If your test score was here, but you had something else, you could kind of maybe somehow get in, remember? Now, they're looking at the possibility of the ACT or the SAT, most likely the SAT not counted at all.
Well, I think that this is a many-tiered thing. One of the things that happened in standardized testing is after COVID, and you have 2 classes full of students that didn't have to take it. It wasn't required for college admission, and colleges started dropping it across the board for regular students. I mean, it was dealt a blow to it. The standardized test lobby is a big one in the education lobby. They have a lot of money in standardized tests. There's a lot of things in standardized tests. Our education system is very flawed because of the dependence on standardized tests, because you wind up having public school teachers teach to tests and not to actual learning, and then there's no retention. I could go into this forever. But I do think sometimes I can ramble too, guys.
No, I'm saying is it.
But the NCAA, I think, is doing a good thing here because it doesn't make sense to have it. If you're a regular student and don't have to take it, then why should an athlete have to take it?
Well, now that both of us are known to be rambling, Craig, your thoughts about the ACT or the SAT and whether or not it should include what is the recruitment of athletes into college?
I'll be honest with you. I don't have an opinion on this. I don't care one way or the other. It means nothing to me. I had to take one of those tests. I took the SAT when I was in high school. I wasn't, trying to go play football at LSU though, but I don't know nearly enough about. I know our education system is broken and screwed up, but I don't know nearly enough about the subject to pretend to have some. I'm not going to be, normal Twitter user and see a line and pretend like I know the entire backstory and everything that has to do with it. I don't. So, yeah, it's whatever to me.
Here's a quote. The days of colleges requiring the SAT or ACT are passing rapidly. More than half of all 4-year colleges and universities will not require these tests for admissions in 2021. And more are dropping the requirement every week. This is from the NABC. These tests should no longer be required in the initial eligibility standards. The tests are again being recognized as forces of institutional racism, which is consistent with their history, and they should be jettisoned for that reason alone. Moreover, pragmatics also support this change.
That particular fact about them, I've heard. Having not taken a standardized test for over 20 plus years, I don't know and didn't realize it at the time. Of course, I'm not the group that it would have been racially biased against, so probably to me, I wouldn't even have noticed. But I just think that as a function, standardized tests have outgrown their usefulness, and there should be more of a focus on the actual learning in schools and all that, as opposed to, one day of your life.
My test score was awful. I hated it. I hated going to take it. I didn't want to take it, and that's why I started out at Tyler Junior College. Caden, this is sad because education is supposed to be the equalizer, not stupidity. From Chris, I think this is a mistake. We should strive to elevate students to aspire to be better, but they want to lower the bar, which doesn't motivate kids to strive for greatness. The next sentence got kind of scrambled a little bit.
Yeah, I will say I do have some concern just as a person who's getting older that, I don't pretend to know the trials and tribulations of growing up in the internet era. Like, I was fortunate that a large chunk of I was in high school by the time the internet really became a thing, so to speak, and certainly not what it is now. I mean, there was not social media. It was instant messenger and a MySpace page, and that was about it. And like towards the end, Facebook finally came around, but you know, I can't even pretend to know what it was like to have my day-to-day on social media like it is nowadays. But at the same time, and I don't disparage anybody in saying this, just the feel that I get is we are requiring less and less and less and less and less and less of everybody and everything, and I just don't think that's a good plan in the long run. I like, what do we even require at this point versus what we don't? You know what I mean?
The problem with dropping standardized testing, I see people saying you need standards and you need all that stuff, and I agree with that. I think the problem is that they've put too much into the test and not the actual schooling and learning things that you're going to take with you for life. And so the test becomes the thing. For example, in the state of Texas, your tax test or whatever it is becomes the whole reason your school gets funding.
Yeah.
If you do well, you get funding. If you don't do well, you don't get funding, which is upside down because you should just fund it anyway and make sure that everybody learns things. So that whole thing alone has turned everything on its ear. So instead of funding education to make sure we have good education, you send 8-year-olds into like, here's your gauntlet. Hope we get new books next year. It's ridiculous.
No, and I remember when they used to teach us for, I think it was tax or whatever, you know, in whatever years of school that would have been. And I couldn't tell you a single question that I answered on those. Now, part of that's just getting older. It's been 20, 30 years or whatever. But at the same time, it didn't prepare me for anything. Like studying and taking that test, I can't tell you that it changed my life in any way. Like, point being, I could have learned a lot more just in a class learning about whatever I needed to learn about versus spending time just make sure, like, it wasn't about what we learned. It was about just passing the test. Like, that was, like, to your point, that was all that mattered. The teachers didn't give a damn if we learned anything from it. It was like, we just need a certain number of you to pass so that the school gets funded and blah, blah. And that's all it was about. It wasn't about our education. So, yeah, from that standpoint, I do think it's just a massive misuse of time and everything else.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I like I said, I don't have all the details here and all that, but I can see why this could be a good thing.
More stuff from the chat room. JW reminds me of the Mad TV skit, Lowered Expectations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
From Chris, I think this is a mistake. We should strive to elevate students to aspire to be better, but they want to lower the bar. He was saying this is just apathy, is what he was trying to say. We need standards. From Shannon, how about we talk sports instead of critical race theory? Shannon.
Dude, no.
Why did you read it? You didn't have to read it. You didn't have to read it. Well, it's out there now. Let's deal with it.
It's about recruiting, and that's why I brought it up. If this was something about education alone, we may not have brought it up. It's about the recruitment and how you get players or athletes, student athletes, into your university. But go ahead, Shannon, have your day.
There's always one.
Jason Miller, great. So we give out more student loan money, create more debt, learn a skill or job trade, plenty of 100,000 yearly annual income jobs. What is next? We stop keeping score in football games?
Well, I think that's not apples to apples, that comparison.
Here's from JG. I think we got some good stuff coming here, though. And we'll take a break for, again, Margene Hooks. There is such an advantage to having a private tutor solely dedicated to prepping a student for standardized testing. I watched my students go from a 24 in an ACT to a 31 in a matter of 4 months. From John. Well, this is from John's opinion. Again, I'll read it. It's what happens when you divorce God from our education system. And I'm not kidding. From Chris, I have a friend who is a fireman. If NASA dropped the requirements to be an astronaut, I don't think you would want him in space shuttle. From JW, bingo, it impacts admissions and recruiting. And then Shannon, there are a lot more than just me. No, Shannon, you brought up the critical race theory, but that's okay. It does impact athletics. It does impact sports. That's why I brought it up, because of recruiting student athletes into colleges. When we come back, Margene Hooks, former Waco High star, he trains athletes now at the high school, college, and pro level, and he's a former Brigham Young wide receiver and one of the top 100 players in that college football program, and he's next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace tailgate tomorrow. Have you already gotten your food? I hope you have, because it's tomorrow, and some of you even start to cook a little bit of that tonight or very early tomorrow morning. They're open until 6 o'clock. Waco Custom Marketplace. Tri-tip and brisket, sausage and chicken, and whatever else you want. Plus, they have charcoal pellet fuel, 10% off this week at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. And if you want just what you want for dinner, whether it's tomorrow night after the Baylor and Brigham Young game or whatever game you're watching, wherever it may be, they have steaks that you can customize, get cut, whether they're bone-in ribeyes, bacon-wrapped fillets. It could be as thick as this, and or all of whatever else you need, with vegetables, fresh produce, and the bakery that's always got fresh baked bread and kolaches. And again, there's not just beef or steaks when it comes to the butcher shop, but also poultry, pork, and seafood as well. And fresh cold beer and wine at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
No gain on second down. That's caught by Thornton that has a seam. Thornton inside the 40. It's a foot race. No chance. Touchdown Baylor.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Young man was a tremendous player at Waco High, recruited by Oklahoma, TCU, and Texas Tech, and then eventually decided to play for Brigham Young. He does train high school, college, and professional athletes. And of course, the weekend with Brigham Young and Baylor. Margin Hooks joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. And by the way, Ty Detmer wanted to clear something up with you, that he allowed you to wear the jersey number 14.
That is true. He did allow me to wear it. I said he wanted to retire. But I told him, you know what I said? I moved much better in the jersey than Ty did. He just dropped back.
Yeah, you wore it better than he did? Is that what you're saying?
Of course I did. He was just big time. He put the name on his spin. I made the jersey move a little faster.
Yeah, he was never known for being Lamar Jackson or anyone like that. That's for sure. Hey, I wanted to also bring this up. This is kind of Waco High and Midway are playing tonight, and neither one of them are having a very good year at all. But we are located, and I told you this, our studio is at 101 Elm on the corner of MLK and Elm. How often did you find yourself here, just on the east or north side of the Brazos River?
I'm actually from East Waco. I'm from 817 Lennart's, right down the street from Carver. I was raised there. So that's where I'm from. Every other weekend I'm there. Actually, I train right over at Baylor at Touchdown Alley. So I'm there every other weekend training guys. So I'm there quite a bit. I'm there.
Well, I had somebody that told me that you're training his son, I think is his young son, in David Dumas, said that you had his son that might be training with you at Touchdown Alley. He brought that up as well. How excited are you at Brigham Young's coming to Waco to play Baylor?
I mean, I'm very excited. You know, I mean, I told someone when I put a tweet out, it's like home is coming home. You know, like I made a home at Brigham Young, and they're actually coming to Waco, where I'm actually born and originally from. You know, so it's a neat deal. You know, also with them, especially coming to the Big 12. I mean, it's a momentous occasion for me. I mean, something I wish for when I was actually playing at Brigham Young, but we never got the opportunity to play Baylor. But you know, it's better now than better late than never.
What does it mean to you and all the alumni that, I mean, we had a guy throw a massive tailgate tomorrow down at Brazos Park East, and for all the fans, what does it mean that BYU is finally in a Power 5 conference and they can get all these things like a conference title, Players of the Week, all the things that they've been missing out on for years and years?
I mean, you know, it's like, to me, BYU has always been a Power 5 team. I would say whatever Power 5 conference, wherever they would land, I would feel BYU would be in the top tier of all those teams. Whether it's the Pac-12, whether it's ACC, whether it's the Big 12, or wherever they make Big Ten, wherever BYU would land, I would feel they would be in that top tier of teams. So to me, they've always been a Power 5 team, just independent. You know, so just getting the title now, it helps a lot, especially with recruiting and also recognition.
Margin, what have you made of Coach Satake? Obviously, haven't lost much here over the last couple of seasons. Last week, I know, was tough in the rain there in the second quarter and the turnovers, but they've been zooming along pretty nicely. And you know, if not for last week, I mean, this would be an even bigger game coming up tomorrow. But your thoughts on just Coach Satake and what he's done with the program?
Man, I think he's done great. And people don't realize Coach Satake and I played together at BYU.
There you go.
We actually finished our last season together. Coach Satake, we were team captains at BYU our senior year. So, and I think he's done a tremendous job, with steering the course with the team and getting them on the path they're on now.
And he played fullback. Didn't he tell us he played fullback? So he looks like he would not want to meet him and have to deal with him, would you?
Oh, no, man. I tell people a story all the time. And one year I got in a fight at practice. I was fighting a linebacker. And so the guy was bigger than me, and it happened. And when I looked up during the fight, one of the first people there was Kalani. And I looked at it, and he was like, well, I was going to help you out, but when I seen you was handling it, I just turned around and made sure nobody else jumped in. So he was that type of guy, and he's still the same when I talk to him. He's still that same, he's a player's coach because he's been in between the lines. And he's done great.
We lost you a little bit.
So, yeah, he's done a great job with that.
Yeah. Okay. Margin Hooks is with us, former Waco High and Brigham Young wide receiver on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Do you have a favorite Lavelle Edwards story?
Oh, man. There's so many of them. Man, one story that all of us have, kind of dealt with, Kalani, I don't think more so than me, Lavelle will call you in his office, and based on what he's calling you for, he had a button beside his desk. I didn't know he had that. So if you were in trouble, you would walk into his office, and all of a sudden the door would slam, and you wouldn't know what closed it because no one knew he had this button. So a couple guys, I don't know if Kalani guy had that happen, but a good friend of mine, Will Snowden, went in the office. He said, I walked in, and Lavelle's sitting there. He's already frowning, and the door slammed behind me. I'm like, what did you say? He said, man, I was kind of scared just sitting there with him. And so he just standing there. I'm sitting there, John Laggers. I'm picturing Lavelle sitting at the desk with the button, and hitting that, and I was walking, he would call me, and I would always stand in the doorway to make sure if he did try to close it, I wouldn't let it close. So that's one thing. And, it was one instance we were there, and I'm a country kid. I'm from Waco, and we were running sprints, and said, well, whoever can guess what kind of tree this is won't have to run anymore. So everybody's guessing all these different types of trees. So finally I got down there, and I know what kind of tree it is. Like, what? I said, we're in Texas. The sun was setting, and it was casting shadows. I said, that's called a shade tree. And he looked at me and just busted out laughing. He's like, that's true. You don't have to run anymore. He was that kind of guy. But believe it or not, despite the stare face he had, he was actually very comical with the things he would laugh at, questions he would ask, very personal, asking about my parents, how they were doing. This was game week. And you would sit there and watch him, and before a big game, he's sitting there talking to the fans, just being normal. I learned a lot from him. And just, if you look at Kalani's style of coaching, he's different, but in some ways he's the same. He's a people person. People love him, love his energy, his passion for the game. And Kalani's still doing dances that we did back in the 90s. He had to stop that. I see him dancing in the locker room. He tries to catch up with the time. I'm like, Kalani, this passes by. But I enjoy it, and the kids enjoy it, and I think it's great for BYU.
So, Margin, BYU's off to a good start. I'm sure you've seen a little bit of Baylor as well. For what you have seen, if you have seen them, they're obviously 5-1, had the tough loss a couple of weeks ago to Oklahoma State. And then the bounce back last week against West Virginia. What have been your thoughts on the Bears and what BYU's facing tomorrow?
I think Coach Aranda and those guys have circled the wagon very well. With the season they had and kind of getting everything the course they want. I think they've done a great job. I think it'll be a very competitive game. Me guessing, I think it's going to be. I think it may end up being a low scoring game. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle, with the team that makes the less mistakes. This is, everyone says, the team makes the less mistakes to win, exploiting those mistakes. But I think they've done a great job. And I'm quite, I'm real close with quite a few of those guys on the Baylor staff. I have a couple, guys that I've trained over there also. Actually had an opportunity this summer. I was working with a receiver at Jackson Gleason, and Bohannon actually came out through some passes. for us. You know, some of the kids didn't realize it till later on when I told them that that's the guy on TV out there. Like, you mean I caught a pass from a D1 short quarterback? I'm like, yes, and the receiver plays on the team too. I thought it was those random guys. I'm like, no, one of those guys, Jackson Gleason. I've been training him since he was a junior in high school. You know, he still comes to me. I come to Waco. They don't have anything going. He'll come out. Sometimes just kind of talk to the guys I have out there. But I mean, Baylor to me has been great. I watched some of the games last week they played in. I mean, they were explosive. You know, with those 40, 30-yard plays, those plus 20 plays. I mean, they're a handful. I mean, I enjoy watching them play.
Did you see when Gary was out there throwing to some of the prospects or some of the people you trained, plus Jackson among others? Did you see what you're seeing now? Could you tell there was a little extra something special on that throw?
Oh, definitely. And even when he's throwing to Jackson, I have some of my top guys out there. I mean, he's whipping it. You know, I mean, because it saved my arm because my little piece of the arm can't do it just like he does. So just watching him throw different routes, and I would kind of, he rolled out them and just do some of the things I do in his system. I work with Jackson, and just watching him, his confidence, about himself. Even how he spoke to some of the guys who was out there, encouraging them. He's going to be a great one, I think, in the history of Baylor quarterback.
So I want to ask you this. You train, as we've mentioned, high school players who are in some cases as highly rated as anybody. I know Evan Stewart's one of the young men that you trained, among others. We had discussed Evan's situation, but now you're someone training players who are already, before they even enter college, getting hooked into NIL. How does that impact your business?
It impacts it. It does impact it now. Where a lot of things that were always frowned upon in college football are now legal. With things of that nature. Where, say, for instance, such as an Evan, some of the guys I trained at Jordan Hudson that I work with, or even Taylor Shetron, who's top receiver in Oklahoma, who actually split to go to Oklahoma State. Some big time guys I work with, and it changes things. My conversation with coaches, changes things, and it's nice there's some of the newer kids, but big time kids, wherever you go, the NIL thing is going to happen. But I try to, the guys I train, and believe it or not, they're even killed with it. They really don't talk about it much. They really don't. I'm like, man, it's like a couple things you don't perform. That stuff can be taken from you also. They're still kids. 17, 18, some of these guys in college, 19 years old. When things are going great, it's cool. But when things are not going great, then the consequences that come behind it is that of a professional. And that's the thing, it's a little different. So even like, say, with Evan, it's different. The conversation I have with coaches with the NIL stuff, and sometimes companies, like if Evan, whoever comes to, man, we have this, we have that. And even when it comes with me in the training, because you got to think a lot of these kids, a lot of things, I looked at some research on Ohio State, and when the second is a 5-star kid steps on campus before they've even done anything in type of production, it says on average they bring in over $600,000 to that institution. If it's a 4-star, it brings in over $300,000. If it's a 3-star, $150,000. So just off the rip, when a person steps on campus on average, they're gonna bring in this. And the school itself hasn't even done anything. The coaches haven't done a thing with the kid. It's just some benefits they're getting just because the kid goes there. And I'm sitting there at the Evan, Evan, who's out here with you now? Like you. Who's been out here? Like you. So he knew what I was saying then. He was like, yeah, coach, you're old for all the work you're doing. And that's what it's come down to. If you want to, it's a business. I run a business. So I've worked with some of these guys, and that's why I put a lot of videos out to show them, don't think when the guys come to me, they're this, or they're this. When Evan came to me, he wasn't a 5-star, number 1 receiver in the nation. He worked his butt off to get that. A lot of those guys, they work, week in and week out with me. Evan was coming to me 3-4 times a week. So now it's in that situation where it's like, okay, coach, hey, this you too. So that's how I'm included with some of the conversations.
Let me ask you,
conversation of things I do.
Well, if you don't mind, one more question, and I know we got to go as well because of the clock. But we have seen now the young man from Kane High School in Houston, Jaden Blue. We've seen Quinn Ewers. I know Evan's not playing, and there's others things attached to that as well. But we've seen now players who are skipping even now their senior year of high school football. What do you say? Do you think in 5 or 6, no matter the money, isn't that going to be something, or am I wrong, or just old man, get off my lawn, that they'll regret 5 or 10 or 20 years from now?
I think they will. I think every athlete should play their senior year, because once you leave high school, it's a business. That's the last time you're playing with your friends, your childhood friends. That's the last time you get to sit in the locker room with them. That's some of the most. My last game is one of my most memorable, but just because of the things that happened after that last game, that those guys will never get. They'll never get that last game with their friends they've been playing Little League football with, junior high football with. You know, and even Evan's situation is different because he did play, half the season. His situation is a little different. And even then, when it happened and when it posted it, I talked to him first. I talked to his coach and I talked to his dad to kind of get all the stories and put it all together kind of to get the gist of it all. Because that's something I prefer kids just go finish your high school season. Go enjoy it. There's only one, and then after that, it's a dollar sign. Coaches are getting paid. Schools are getting paid. Players are now, able to get some compensation. It becomes a business, and the enjoyment and enthusiasm, just a natural game, some of that's taken away. Like, say, for instance, Baylor's having a homecoming game. It's a homecoming. I've been played in a few of those at BYU. But once that game ends, it's like you're not even thought of. It's like you're the entertainment. Once it's done, you're not alumni. You just better make sure the alumni are happy when they leave, and they're going to start writing checks. You do well against Baylor beats BYU and does well, it's going to be some checks moving around. That's just the nature of the beast now. So Evan didn't get to do a homecoming game with this high school. A lot of guys didn't. So it's a big part you're missing out on. A huge part, So no, I don't condone it. I prefer kids to just finish out their high school career and then go to college.
Margin, thanks, buddy. Great to have you on. Good to hear from you again. Keep doing what you're doing.
You going to be going to the game?
Yeah, are you there tomorrow?
I will be there. Actually, I will be on the field. I'll be carrying out the alumni flag for the team.
Are you really? Hey, that's a little nugget. How about that? That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll be on the sideline for a little bit. I'm too old to move out the way, so I don't want to be down there too long.
Yeah, that heat will start. I just got goosebumps just because I thought that was so cool for you, because I know what Waco means to you, and I know what playing at Brigham Young means to you. So that's awesome.
Oh, man, it's great. Is Ty coming to the game?
No. He said,
oh, man, I wish he was.
He's coaching again at a school, and I don't know if it's an academy or what it might be in Arizona. So he started doing that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I remember the first time I met Ty real quick at a TCU game. It was the first time I ever met him. It was the coolest thing to actually meet him and see him. And I'm looking at it, and I give him credit. He was like, I said, yeah, man, my jersey retired. Wow. Like, I didn't do anything, but I mean, he's such a, great dude, man. He's a legend, the legend of BYU, if you ask me, and the things he's done for the school, not only just as a player, but just an ambassador for the school. I'm appreciative for him to allow me to share that number, and for him to do things we have for that number to no longer be worn anymore. So I have a little bragging with it, but it's all him.
All right, Margin, thank you, buddy. Hope you guys will hook up here sometime soon. Margin Hooks, former Waco High star, and, of course, one of the best wide receivers at a place there's been a bunch at Brigham Young, and he'll be there carrying out the flag, the alumni flag, as Brigham Young enters McLean Stadium for their game against Baylor tomorrow. That's really cool. That's a local nugget and a BYU nugget. When we come back, we're going to replay what we had from earlier this week. Robert Griffin III, Heisman Trophy quarterback at Baylor. He's in the broadcast business and gets to do Baylor yet again, and his thoughts about Brigham Young as much as Baylor, and many other things that he's also want to talk about as far as questions, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. The beautiful, rugged, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L is now in stock at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Prestigious Jeep heritage is obvious in the Grand Cherokee L. First responders offering an extra $500 cash for you. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, or limited, total values of $3,500 or 0% financing for 72 months right now at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Meanwhile, there's also the Ram Power Days, bringing back the first truck brand to take the top overall spot. The new vehicle initial quality study by J.D. Power, 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab, the Lone Star. You can get total values up to $6,000 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus a $2,000 bonus cash, and first responders, again, an extra $500. It's Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary, or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, we head towards the end of this show. Paul's Top 5 coming up in about 20 minutes or so. We will be at Waco ISD Stadium tonight for high school football. Two teams that haven't won a game and both desperately need to win a game, Waco High and Midway, in the 22nd meeting between the two. That comes up at 7 o'clock here and also on 106.7 FM. The Eagle, our pregame tomorrow, 12:30 from here. Baylor and Brigham Young. Here's from earlier this week. Robert Griffin III, former Baylor Heisman Trophy quarterback, met with some members of the media about the game, about Brigham Young, about Baylor, and more. Robert, do you ever think when you come back into McLean Stadium that it's kind of called the house that Robert Griffin III built after the touchdown pass to Terrence Williams? Has that ever crossed your mind?
No, it has not. But I have heard that a bunch. And, it's one of those things that you don't call yourself humble, right? You let other people call you humble. And that's kind of the way I approach that. But I have been hearing that phrase for years now. And, for the people who are saying it, it's just, it's an honor for some people to look at it that way. You want to always leave a place better than you found it. You guys have all been there. You guys remember Floyd Casey. You guys remember the fact that we had to drive across the city to go to workouts and we didn't have an on-campus facility. The young guys that are coming into Baylor now, they are spoiled. They have more than we did, but that's how you want it to be, right? You always want to give back and be able to build something. I think that's kind of what happened. I remember the days when Jerry wasn't dancing, I remember the days when Jerry Hill was killing us, I remember those days, but because we were able to build it the way that we did, we were able to include more people and build the program to a place where it is today. I know Mac and Coach Aranda, and even before him, Matt Rule, they've all worked hard to overcome some of the obstacles the school has had to face over the years. But the fact that Baylor football is where it is today still includes all of the things that happened in the past and the way that it was built up. So, like I said, I don't ever say that, but I have heard it, and I'm honored that people view it that way.
Next, we've got Jerry Hill.
Robert, you talked about it. I mean, they looked different this last week against West Virginia. From your perspective, what was the biggest difference in that game?
Yeah, if you remember in the Oklahoma State game, Tyquan Thornton had finally caught, a deep pass. And on the broadcast, I said, finally. All of Baylor Nation saying, finally, they're throwing the ball to Tyquan Thornton and doing what he does best. And the way that they accomplished that early in the West Virginia game was not only impressive, but it just showed you how dynamic Tyquan Thornton is. He caught that slant for a 75-yard touchdown. And then the corners giving him space because he's so fast, and because he gave him space, he was able to go and take that ball to the house. But I think it was just they had a better plan against West Virginia, maybe so than Oklahoma State. It was a home game. different environment. Not that they don't play well on the road, because they do. So I thought that just overall offensively, they stayed ahead of the chains. If you want to get into philosophy, that's really what it was. They stayed in positive down and distances like they had been all year, which they didn't do against Oklahoma State. Abram Smith, he was running like a madman. He was doing his thing. And then I think Jeff Grimes just did a good job mixing it up, trying to get the ball to different guys and involving them in the game. Drew Estrada, Tyquan Thornton, Ben Sims. I thought they were very, very effective in that. And when you watch the tape, both of these teams run pro-style offenses, and I think that's what people don't get. They're used to seeing Baylor run the spread and shoot and air raid, whatever you want to call it, right? But just getting a bunch of guys out and running fast and doing it that way from our time there. But that's not what Jeff Grimes does. And when you watch BYU, you see similarities. You see pro-style concepts. Ben Sims catches a touchdown on a wing set on a double play action with a jet sweep. I mean, I see that every week in the NFL. So I think the plan they had against West Virginia was better. They wanted to come out and prove a point to say last week isn't who we are. This is who we are. And Gary had a career high in passing yards in the first half. You want to talk about, hey, it all worked out. It all, went into stride. I think that's what it was. It was, they were upset. I talked to Gary after the Oklahoma State game, and he was upset, and rightfully so. I get it. So I think that they responded well because of that setback. And I think that that's going to help them for the rest of the year.
What have you seen from BYU's offense? Jaren Hall came back last week after missing a couple of games with rib injury. What do you see from their offense?
Yeah, they got 4 wide receivers. They got the Nakoa brothers, Pau, and then Romney, who is his brother Baylor Romney, which is, his name's Baylor. Kind of interesting as the backup QB. These 4 guys are, any one of them could be a star any given week. So I think when you watch them throw the ball, you can see glimpses of Jeff Grimes' offense and what they do. I think that they also believe, because Jeff was there for 3 years and the offensive line coach, Eric Mateos, they believe they have a good feeling on what Baylor's going to do. So I think that'll be an interesting dynamic, whether they're calling out plays before they happen or if they get tricked because, they thought they saw something. I think that's a new element for Jeff Grimes and Baylor to kind of try to overcome. But offensively, they have Algeria, the running back, not a home run hitter, but very solid running back, powerful guy. And that's the way I look at them. If you look at their games closely, they've won close games. They lost this past week, I think, 26-17, but all of their games have been close and then relatively low-scoring games for college. So it's not like they're going out and blowing people out like Baylor did last week. So I think that's a key as well. They like to shorten the game, running the ball, throwing the ball, doing the pro-style concepts. Defensively, they got a lot of movement into what they do. But Jaren Hall came back, like you said, after missing 2 games with the bruised ribs, and I'm sure he'll feel better this week. I heard that he didn't practice very much last week, and they're hoping that helps to more success from him.
Robert, with the transfer portal the way it is with quarterbacks, when Coach Briles was there, Nick had to play early because of your injury, but he had to wait. We know how long Bryce had to wait, Bryce Petty, and then Seth. Do you think that would have changed, or was everyone just knew that if they stayed patient, he would turn them into All-American quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think it also comes down to where you go. Because when me and Nick came in, me and Nick were same class. Nick was I don't know how, I think he was a 2 or 3 star, and I was a 4-star QB. And normally you see these transfers happen when you get these big time 5-star recruits, that go to Alabama or go to Texas, and the school brings in two or three of these guys in consecutive years, and then they can't play because maybe one guy came to fruition or a guy gets benched, like the Oklahoma situation with Spencer Rattler. and they know that they can play and they're highly rated, so they want to go off and have another opportunity. So I think that had a little bit to do with it at Baylor. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think Bryce was a 4-star, right?
Yeah, because he committed to Tennessee initially.
Yeah, and then he decommitted when who was it that left there? Ole Miss coach? Wake Forest coach?
Can't remember.
Man, I just talked to him, so that's why I remember, because he talked to me about Bryce. So from what I remember, with me and Nick got to play a lot in 2009. I had to win the job in 2008 over Blake Zemansky, Tyler Beatty, and Kirby Freeman. So when Nick came in, when we were there together, Nick got to play in 2009 when I got hurt. And I don't ever remember there being any chatter about Nick transferring out after that, because, he played well, and we knew that once I was gone, that he was going to be the guy, just because of mainly because of what he had done in 2009. So when I look at the transfer portal, Bryce needed the time to develop. Seth, I'm not sure how long did Seth sit?
Not nearly as long.
Yeah, not nearly as long as Bryce, but Bryce would be the first person to tell you he needed the time to sit, because in that offense with Coach Browse and Kendall and Levy and Randy and Phillip Montgomery, once you learned that system and you could grow in that system, it was a very quarterback friendly system, So I think that's another reason why guys didn't leave. Because like you said, it's not that he would turn us into All-American guys. It's just that a couple of years in that system with the weapons that they bring in and how they call it, you were going to have a chance to not only put up numbers, but have a chance to go play at the next level. And I think Seth was going to break all the records, man. If he didn't get injured, Seth was truly something special. I remember going to seeing him when he had his surgery, but yeah, I think it was a lot of those different things, and a lot of the guys weren't highly recruited guys, weren't 5-star recruits.
If you don't mind a follow-up, we talked about Baylor quarterbacks, but what about Brigham Young's history with McMahon and Young and Detmer and the kind of names that they've put up over the years as a quarterback? How special is their history?
Oh, it's really special, especially recently, right, with Zach Wilson. Some people said he kind of came out of nowhere, but when you watched him play at BYU, he was making ridiculous throws left and right. And Jeff, I talked with Jeff Grimes about it and just how Zach kind of compares to Gary. And, Zach's a more natural thrower, but that same type of gym rat feel that Zach had, Jeff gets that from Gary, and that's kind of why Gary won the job. Studying, knowing where to go with the ball, being efficient. And as you see already this year, obviously, knock on wood, he's thrown no interceptions. He's been very efficient throwing the football. Had a not as great game against Oklahoma State, but then came back and responded well against West Virginia. When you look at BYU, I think the thing that I was a little surprised by this week was that Jaron Hall is the first African-American quarterback in BYU's history. Starting quarterback in their history. So I thought that was interesting, something that we'll definitely, point out on the air. But they've had great quarterbacks in their history for sure. And it'll be cool to kind of add that history to the Big 12, won't it? These, Steve Young and McMahon and Zach Wilson, they won't necessarily become quote unquote Big 12 quarterbacks. But it'll be interesting to see how that legacy of those quarterbacks continues to develop as they join the Big 12.
Is there a chance I can ask you about your former NFL franchise?
Yeah, go ahead.
There was times when it seemed like you were blitzed with a lot of things being written about you from within. And now that you see some of the things that are going on, does that surprise you?
No, not at all. Doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah. Doesn't surprise me at all, just with everything that's going on. And it's from the reporting standpoint. I think that's what you're getting at from what came out either last night or today. Yeah. You want to give your players the best opportunity to be successful, and I think some franchises have it figured out where they protect their players. And fall on the sword for their players and do everything they can to put them in the best situation, and some don't. And I think everybody gets to kind of get a glimpse into that, right now.
They're supposed to have all of our names.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco. A hidden gem, although the more we talk about them, the less they're going to be hidden, because people will go and see what great customer service they have there, what great selections they have there of not only spirits and wines, but craft beer rotated out seasonally. The roster's always churning there for craft beer at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And plus, they have high-end bourbons there to beat the band. I like using that expression, to beat the band. High-end bourbons: Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore's, Hooten Young, and Bardstown, which is a very, very ritzy high-end bourbon. They've got them. And look, if they don't have something, they're probably going to get it eventually, or they'll find out what the deal is on that particular product. They always bringing in new and interesting stuff to Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Great customer service and a speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons. Right. And has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
All right, top 5 college football coaches as Denzel Washington characters. I wanted to get something that could rope you both in for Friday.
My favorite actor.
Yes. Now you're going to have to...
Bucket list interview.
Again, you're going to have to bear with me on some of these because it might be a logical, it might not be a logical jump, but it's in my brain it is. So I'll explain. And one of these guys is currently not a college football coach, but it just felt so right to put him in here. He was for a long time. All right, and it's number 1. All right, number 5, Nick Saban is American gangster Denzel, Frank Lucas. And here's why. Not because he's doing anything illegal. I have more respect for the character of Frank Lucas in this movie, not the actual Frank Lucas. Denzel Washington's Frank Lucas, because, look, he has great things to say. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. His organization was flawless for a long time. Couldn't be stopped. He wouldn't be stopped. He was the best at being a heroin runner, but still, Nick Saban is flawless. He's the best. He's got great things. He said rat poison and whatever you want to say. Nick Saban is American gangster Denzel. I know most people would say, why isn't he Crimson Tide Denzel? I thought those are too on the nose.
I'll tell you what I love about Nick Saban, and I know that they lost, and they'll maybe lose another game or two this year. Who knows? But the fact that you look at all the things they do, and on occasion they'll screw something up. They'll do something wrong. But he never lets anything get by him. Other coaches might outcoach him one game, which is hard. Others might just be better. But he is tedious with every little part of what they do every day, and I love that.
So you're not saying that Saban brings drugs back into the country through the bodies of dead GIs? You're not saying that.
I'm just saying his organization is flawless.
Okay, just making sure.
much like, and Saban has figured out a way to do everything better than everyone else, just like Frank Lucas did. Yeah. Just in a terrible way.
Should have said more of caskets than bodies of dead GIs.
Yeah, because they wouldn't look at them. Yeah. Number 4, Kirby Smart is man on fire Denzel. He's kind of prickly. Kirby Smart's not, he's not a Bobby Bowden, throw his arms around, fun-loving guy. And clearly he is mowing through his opponents right now like they kidnapped his favorite person in the world because what George is going on right now. He's just tying people to the hoods of cars going, I wish you had more time. And boom.
Yeah, gone.
He's been very surgical, much like Denzel and Man on Fire. It's a great movie. I like that movie a lot. Pretty rewatchable. I mean, not the most rewatchable, but I catch it on TV sometimes and we'll ride with it. But yeah, I love the movie, and Kirby Smart is a man on fire right now. I mean, I don't think there's any denying that, and surgically just taking people out. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin is he got game Denzel. And I don't think there's much. There's something shady about Lane Kiffin, just like there's something shady about Mr. Shuttlesworth here in this movie. A lot of things shady about him. While he might have some best interest at heart, something just bothers me about Lane Kiffin. Outside the personality stuff.
You ever met him?
Bothers me. No, I haven't. I know what. I'd like to meet him, but something bugs me.
It's easy to say something about somebody, and I know that if you look at the trend, but sometimes I've tried to, as I've gotten older, if I've not met him, it's hard for me, although there's still, I don't like him, or he's, I don't know. I've never met him, but there's something there that it feels like it's a little bit greasy.
Yeah, he's a little shady. There's no doubt about it. I mean, anyone wants to argue that point, go right ahead. But I think you could go like $1 million for $1 million, and even Ole Miss fans say he's a little bit shady. But I think he's a likable guy overall, and a good dude overall. I just think he's a little different, than most people. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously had his struggles, much like Shuttlesworth had his struggles. Shuttlesworth served his prison time, got out, and saw his son was a top recruit in the country. But Kiffin got over his struggles and is, become kind of a likable. He's he's a college football coach. He's a character, and we haven't had really a ton of those like there was with the old wave with the Bowdens and not that all those guys were characters, but they were like larger than life.
Well, and Spurrier was like that.
Yeah, there's like Spurrier and Bowden and on. But yeah, Kiffin's kind of one of those larger than life type of guys. So yeah, okay, loved he got game too.
Yeah, number 2, Ed Orgeron is Flight Denzel. Look. Flight Denzel's a mess.
I've never seen Flight, just for the record.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie. But under the surface,
other than when he's running on top of trains, which movie that he's done is not fantastic? Fences is very deep, right?
Fences is more like a play.
Yeah.
But Fences is really deep. Okay. I don't know, but
it's a good one here.
Yeah,
too.
Flight's really.
He almost looks like a German officer. Yeah. That captain's.
Look, he turns the plane over, he lands, saves everybody. Ed Orgeron did that. He won a national championship. But Denzel in the movie Flight needs his friends like John Goodman and all that to kind of keep him together, because in the movie he's a raging alcoholic. And I'm not saying that about Ed Orgeron, but in the movie he's just a raging, terrible alcoholic. Needs everything around him to keep him together. And then without those guys in the support system, he's just ripping open the door in the hotel and tearing open a mini fridge before his big hearing. So, yeah, and right now it's not looking good for Ed Orgeron, much like it wasn't looking good at the end of Flight for Denzel's character in that movie.
Okay.
So he's Flight Denzel. And number 1, Urban Meyer is Training Day Denzel.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's a compliment to Denzel Training Day.
No, here's the deal.
Because he's a cool son of a you-know-what.
He's also the major villain in the movie.
The villain in the movie. Okay, he's the villain in the movie.
Never the villain.
And but he's walking.
He is a bad man.
Here's the thing.
Scumbag.
Oh, God.
At one point in the movie, well, I guess it's like right at the end, before he gets just mowed down, he's yelling, "King Kong ain't got on me!" And then he's dying because everybody's turned on him eventually and they're tired of his nonsense. That's exactly what's kind of happening to Urban Meyer right now. He's doing all these shady things. Florida, Ohio State, Jackson, all these things. Wherever he's been kind of shady. And people starting to get tired of it. Boom, you get to the NFL. And again, Russian mobsters turn on you at the end of the movie.
Well, I mean, the Bloods turned on him too.
They
really. I don't know if they really turned on him as much as they just finally had a chance to be done with his BS, because clearly they didn't like him to begin with. But yeah, I mean, the shady stuff eventually caught up to him, and at the end, all of his one-time allies or business partners or whatever, washed their hands clean. So yeah, I could see that comparison.
Okay. Remember when he went out in the parking lot and everyone kind of was watching him, and who's the young cop he was training?
Ethan Hawke.
And they were, going at it, and they were brawling, and then he thought he'd have his homies, right? They thought they were going to kind of help defend him, and they just turned their back on him.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was a powerful scene. And then he goes underneath the bridge at a stoplight, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And boom, the Russian mafia blows him out of his car.
But yeah, there you go.
Did I just give away
I thought, people, if you see, it's been out for 20 years.
If anybody says anything about a spoiler, you've had 20 years to watch that movie. Ain't nobody waiting for you to watch that movie, because if you haven't watched it by now, you're not watching it by now. That's my spoiler rules. If it's been 20 years, you have no reason to complain. So
yeah. Lane Train, he got no. Let's see. Let's see if a couple of people want to respond. This list has just reminded him how awesome Denzel is. Bourbon
sure.
Lonzo Meyer, Training Day, Urban Meyer under center. Bourbon is Lonzo, Trevor Lawrence is Officer Hoyt. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. We've got to go. Thanks to Jack McKenzie earlier, along with Hayden Bumpus. Hayden's over at Waco ISD Stadium, where tonight they dedicate the press box radio booth. Radio TV booth, the late great Butch Henry, who we worked with for many, many years. One of the fantastic people you'd ever want to meet in your life. He passed away about a little bit over a year ago. Thanks to Armstrong Sims. He'll be here tomorrow with our pregame show, 12:30. Brigham Young and Baylor here in the studio. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. We're about to head to Waco ISD Stadium for high school football. You can hear it, 106.7 FM The Eagle, or right here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Our sponsors, you, chat room, even if we agree or if we even disagree, and we do. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate your time and your loyalty. Back at it again Monday as well at 3. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.